Yeah, let me send. I'm gonna post the link on Facebook.
Oh, you just send me the link?
Oh, I sent you the link to that other video that we were talking about.
Oh, okay. I am confused.
I am confusion.
All right, we are live now, it seems.
Yeah, it looks like it. Okay.
Nice.
What a time to be live.
What a time to be alive.
All right, once I get this posted on the Facebook, we can take off running.
Sweet. Cool.
How are you doing, Kaylee? It's been a minute.
Yeah, chill. Just been holed up in my apartment for probably like 3 weeks now. So, yeah, we closed down our office like way before a lot of the other businesses closed down. So we've just been doing nothing basically and stuck inside because there's nothing to do. Nothing's open. So
struggle's real.
Yeah. So
I feel you.
airsoft morale is at an all-time low. And I know Mark's been feeling it pretty hard because he doesn't want to fucking do anything or talk about anything related to airsoft.
I see what he's posted, and I'm like, when he posted that holographic red dot thing the other day, I'm like, oh, it's real. The struggle's real.
Yeah. He's like literally trying to find anything to do, and then I asked him like, so are you going to be putting out the video with our MP5s? Because we did dual MP5s at one of the fields not too long ago. And we had a great time, but he's like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'll never post it.
I got to get my MP5 working. I've been wanting to get the Midwest Industry. I have the same one as you. In fact, I'm going to go grab it. Hold on.
Hell yeah, dude.
All right, now we're going to grab it.
While he's out, I guess. Welcome to another episode of the Gun Gamers podcast. This is the second one that's actually... Yeah, this is episode 9. Someone says they can't see video. Someone else says they can see video, though. So I'm going to assume that it's fine and the internet just sucks for everybody. Praise Judy, Christian, which is a very ironic name to follow up the phrase Praise Judy. But yeah, we're going to be talking today about, I guess, doing YouTube stuff and being a YouTuber.
No, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just doing the intro. We're going to talk today about being a YouTuber and doing YouTube stuff. And we have a very special guest today. In addition to Kaylee, who is always a wonderful guest, we have... Who is this? Who are you?
Who am I? Hello there. My name is Alfonse. Hello, Gypsy. I guess as Eric said, I attempt to make some YouTube videos every now and then.
Hey, you probably do it better than I do, considering the numbers, but you know.
No. We both know that's not the direct indication of skill numbers.
Or no.
You make some great stuff. I like it.
Thank you.
In fact, I was just watching. I just watched one of your videos the other day, like an older one, and I was gonna say something new about it. Trying to think which one it was. Oh, it was about airsoft cheater videos, and I remember I was doing my research. I was like, I can't remember actually why. I think it was just because I was generally a little upset about like the stuff we were just talking about before the podcast, and I was kind of like doing test, search results to see what would come up and whatnot. And your video came up, and the first scroll through the comments. The first comment's Jets, and he's like, "Very well said."
Yeah, that was actually. I want to say that was one of the first times Jet really interacted with one of my videos, because Jet and I had never really spoken until like SHOT Show 2016, I think, or 2017, and he was like, "Yeah, I've watched some of your videos, yada yada," but. That was the weird moment, right? When it's like real. It's like, oh man, people I respect watch my shit. That's weird.
Yeah, no, trust me. I had that moment quite a few times. I'm like, holy shit, this person's looking at my video. Like, why?
I hope it didn't suck. I hope you liked it.
I hope, like, what is going on in your life that you've come to this point? No, but I just remember
that channel. Good lord.
There was a specific voice line that you said in there, or I don't remember exactly, and I don't want to quote it wrong, but it was like, you're basically like, there's no money to be made in airsoft videos, or about like, there's no incentive to make cheater videos essentially, and like, I wanted to have a conversation with you about that at some point. I was like, I have words to say.
Well, hey, here we are. I think what I think what I said about that. I don't think it was money. I think what I said was in relation to like getting something done or accomplishing something in terms of like resolving the cheating issue. There's no greater maximum impact that posting a cheater video publicly can have as opposed to sending it to the refs.
Right. Yeah. No, your point's spot on with like, let's take ourselves out of YouTube world because like when I look at airsoft YouTube, most of my viewers, and I don't even have that many relatively speaking to some of the bigger channels, but like most people who watch airsoft gameplays are not airsofters. And I think that is the biggest disconnect between like, because like you were saying, you're making great points about like, this is a terrible strategy. Like, oh, you want to like, why post a cheater video? Oh, like let's hold the cheater accountable, blah, 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 blah. Like you'd have a much better result just directly going to the field and being like, hey, so I had this guy, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like nothing in terms of like making a clickbait video is going to help that situation, except maybe the added devaluing of making the field potentially look bad, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. But I don't remember where I was going with this. I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, man.
No, you started
off so well.
You made a bunch of great points, and like when it comes to airsoft, like I was just saying. Okay, I remember what I was just saying. How like most viewers aren't airsofters. It's like if you're not an airsofter and you don't live in airsoft world, like you don't, you're not going to the events. Like I'm pretty sure me and you, or all of us, for a matter of fact, we could talk about certain things in airsoft like that come with attending events, like just how people act, like the problems, like the classic hurry up and wait, all the little things that really you would only understand if you attended an airsoft event. Whereas people who just like click on YouTube videos and want to watch, that's like the least of their concern. So in their mind, they're kind of just like, they're on a different planet. And so my point kind of was being of like, there's a huge discrepancy when it comes to like the impression that I would say the largest percentage of viewers get from let's say watching a cheater video versus like someone like me, one of us seeing a cheater video. Like every time I see a cheater video, I'm always like, like, all right, like I that's one of the things that I really have tried, at least with my channel, to stay away from I can't say cringe because I love a good cringe. Like I don't know if you've caught on, but
I know, I notice.
I feel like the biggest thing that people maybe might not realize with me is just like, or if let's say you've never met me, like I'm sure since you've met me and we've talked and hung out, like when I say certain things that like I'm kind of like trolling or I'm saying it from a different point of view.
There's a massive like lens of sarcasm that you have to look at everything you put out with.
Whereas, like, if you didn't know that, you'd be like, "Holy crap, this guy's cringe!" Like, what the? What is this? What am I watching? But like, so like, I kind of take advantage of that, and I try and like use that as like another level of trolling, I guess. But it's just
kind of a character that you play almost in the way that you present your channel, because that persona is a large part of why a lot of people tune in, because they really like the silliness and the memes and all that. And that persona is a huge part of your branding. So like, no shit, you're going to do like all that stuff that is like cringe or whatever, because that's the sense of humor that really sets you apart, I think. And the fact that a lot of people, I'm going to make a kind of controversial statement, maybe a lot of people have kind of aped elements of your style since you really became popular.
Well, I don't think it was like, I think it was just me, more or less me doing what a lot of people were thinking or wanting to do. Like my whole, like when I started my channel, like for example, like I've been playing airsoft since probably 2005. Like funny story, the only reason I was even allowed to play airsoft was because my parents would be very upset if I told people this, but essentially what happened was my parents wanted me to go to an all-boy private high school. I did not want to go to all-boy private Catholic high school, like where you had we had to attend church every Wednesday and Friday. Like that was not what I wanted to do. But like my parents also wouldn't let me have airsoft guns. Like they were very strict. Like my mom and dad wouldn't let me play teen video games. Like,
I
like
see where this is going, I think.
Right. And so essentially there was one day where I was bugging my dad enough, and he finally was like, "Hey, Alfonse." We were in an MC Sports. I remember this very, very vividly. And like me and my brother were looking at there was a cyber gun, like pump action shotgun, and a cyber gun. I think it's DPMS Panther carbine, like spring shot.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
The good stuff. And I remember looking at it and like, even now thinking about it, the price on that I think was like $79, and I'm like, $79 for a spring gun. Looking back at it, but basically my dad was like, "Hey, you know, Alphonse, Vincent, if you go to this private school, we will let you have airsoft guns." And so, looking back on it, I thank my parents very much because I wouldn't be where I am today without that. But point of that was like I've been playing airsoft since long before YouTube was even like a thing, and you know, starting out just playing in the backyard. And where I'm essentially going with this was like fast forward a few years, like I start going away to college. I get involved in other things like playing college sports and this and that. And even when I was doing the modeling with Abercrombie, it was like I was always in the back of my mind, like I was always an airsofter. Like, for example, I'd be like, there was this really cool job that I got to do where it was like they had the seasonal shirtless greetings, right? At like you walk into the mall and you hear the and like sure enough in front is this very skinny shirtless man that you're kind of just like, well, hello.
That's amazing.
But that was me, and I got to do that. It was a great job. It was my first job basically after high school. Like I got paid $115 an hour, having no concept of having a real job at that point because you know I was raised rather spoiled up until you know later events in my life when like my parents got divorced, lost their job, blah 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 blah. But like so I like to me I'm just like all this money and like every time I'm at work I'm just spending every cent I make on airsoft guns and trying to get my friends. Like I was the weird guy that wanted to like get everybody involved in airsoft. And at least in my area specifically, part of it was my ignorance of not being aware of like that there was actually a couple fields around me, but I didn't think anyone else played airsoft. Like I was like, you know, at least my state, like my state, I knew there was like people out there, but I thought it was just this like, you know, at the extent of it was, hey, let's buy our airsoft guns at Dick's Sporting Goods or Walmart and we'll go play in the backyard. And so after a while, I kind of was like the weird guy with airsoft, right? Like,
yeah,
no matter what I did, like everywhere I would be, like whether it was I was playing hockey or college football, like I would always like my thing was to always try and get my friends to play airsoft with me. Like I was like, guys, this is really fun. It's like Call of Duty but real life. Like so like and the only way I could play it was if I hosted my own game and I had to supply everyone with guns. I had to supply everyone with BBs, mags, plate carriers. So like I ended up acquiring this like massive inventory of airsoft stuff just so I could play. Like because the only way I was playing is if I got everyone to show up and I provided everything. And like it was cool, but after a while I kind of was like, you know, I got to the point where I was like I was tired of like explaining the same thing over and over to people of like what is airsoft? Why is this? And at this point there was like, you know, there's other great channels out there. Yeah. And so specifically with my region, I kind of like after a while I went out and I started going to so this was like 2016. I moved back from Hawaii and I started going to like in that time I was in Hawaii, I was like looking up on YouTube and I was like, holy crap, there's people that play airsoft out there. Like, and I don't have to supply them with guns, BB ammo, and gear. They have their own gear.
And shit. It's all set up.
You can just show up and play. Like this was the great. Like I was like, oh my god. And so basically, like I started doing a little research. I started to find fields. I just showed up. I remember vividly. I showed up to this local field that has a terrible reputation. Like even to this day, everyone would just absolutely hates it because it's the classic airsoft field where it's run by paintballers. They treat airsofters like second class citizens essentially. Like your experience would be going up there and like some very cringy backwoods like guy with missing teeth would be like screaming at you across the field. Like
yeah, it's mostly rednecks and
and
their hunting gear and shit.
And they would pull the shenanigans of like, oh, you have to use field ammo, and like their field ammo would be, you know, $20 for a bottle of 2.0s, like shitty 2.0s. And at one point they got upset because people weren't like using field ammo, so they made everyone use pink ammo, and it was a very low quality Velkin. Like it was before Velkin fixed their batch.
I was gonna say, was it like the game face pink ammo, the marking shit that they made for a little while?
I think that's what it was, and like everyone's guns would jam. So, like, it was a terrible experience, and not to mention, even more so, like I even joined an airsoft team.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, big mistake. I guess different with gun gamers and stuff like that because it's more of like
it depends a lot. Like an airsoft team is one thing, but like a group of buddies who play airsoft is another.
A drinking team.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're more of a drinking team, not a hunter of gunmen Milson team. And basically, long story short, I know I'm going off on a tangent and rambling. But
I enjoy the tangent, honestly.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
Weird comment here. The fact that like we kind of get you to go on this tangent is pretty awesome because your content usually is so gameplay focused that like having you break out right now is like that's pretty awesome. I really like getting this on record.
No, honestly, and I wish I could do more of this. That's why when you said, "Hey, you want to come on the podcast?" I was like, "Yes!" Like I love doing this stuff. Like there's so much. I can get into that. I'll finish the story first. But basically, long story short, when I joined the airsoft team, I was exposed to like, I basically just kind of saw how airsoft was treated in my area, and I was kind of like, this is not good. Like I did not
this is cringe.
Way too serious, super cringe. I remember my first Milsim event I ever went to, if you can call it a Milsim, was American Milsims. What's it called? The one in Chicago.
Op 34?
Op 34 too. I went with this Milsim team, right? And because I'm not full time right now, but I was a full time college student at the time. This was a year and a half ago, or no, you know when the event was. That was like my first Milsim.
Yeah.
And I couldn't come down the day before on Friday because I had class, for obvious reasons. And so I showed up, really early Saturday morning, and like it was a whole problem. Everyone was like, "Oh, blah blah blah, Alfonse is this and that." And my teammates had actually asked me to. One of my friends, who's an engineer, lives in Chicago, and obviously Op 34 being in Chicago, he's also a photographer, and I asked him to come out and shoot pictures of the team. And so basically, like, we're playing. And, my friend's trying to follow us around. It's raining. It's horrible. My friend ends up like at one opportune moment, like he is snapping a picture of me, and the team leader, he's this cringy guy, came out and was like, "Oh, I see what this is about. You're all just about pictures and blah, 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 not Milsim," and like freaked out at me. And like basically the whole time they were telling me to do things that were like against the rules. Like some guy, he was like, "All right, what you're going to do is you're going to barricade yourself inside this room, like deep within a dark room. You're going to put these barrels here and you're going to open this cracked door and you're going to shoot your LMG out of it. It's going to be awesome. You're never going to be able to die." And I'm kind of just like, isn't that against the rules? Like, don't you have to break? And they were like, no, don't worry about it. So like they were doing a bunch of stuff like that, and like I would see them get shot and not call their hits, and so I kind of was just like,
nah, fuck this.
This is cringe. And then like even to make matters worse, my friend who had drove like 2 hours to come take pictures of the team, which is what they asked for, his car died in the rainstorm, and so I left the field in the middle of the game to jump his car because he was sick, he wanted to leave, and that was like a whole fiasco and blah blah blah. Anyways, I ended up getting kicked off the team, and that left a really bad taste in my mouth about airsoft. And I was like, holy shit, I need to do something because like I don't want people to like think that this is airsoft. Like in my opinion, airsoft is just like I think we are tunnel vision locked in on what airsoft is. Of like it is just
I think we are
fun time with your friends. We're LARPing. We're all playing dress up. Like it doesn't matter if you're like if you have military service or you're a civilian. It doesn't all forms of the political spectrum. Everyone just kind of comes and we play this little game. It's really fun, and that's it. Like just because you have AOR1 JPC or Real Cries doesn't make you any better than the rental player. And like that's another, I would see a lot of that. And I feel like another aspect was like I was really into gear, and I had I'm kind of a gear whore. If you
same.
I buy a lot of
it. We all.
Yeah.
Isn't that the final evolution, is to become a gear whore?
Yeah, I feel like that's ultimately like where most of us end up.
But I had so I had a real interest in gear and collecting gear. But the thing that would bug me was anytime I would meet anyone else who, at least in my area, I feel like this might just be a specific isolated issue in my area. But like everyone who was into that culture kind of just was not what I thought airsoft. Like they took it way too seriously. They would be talking shit to like the new players on the field and just being dicks and this and that. And so I kind of was like, I want to like make my channel like a representation of what I think airsoft should be about. And like, I want to show, like, I wanted to fill the gap and the problem that I had of showing like, hey, what's airsoft? I was like, oh, like, I'll just show you. Like, and then also on top of it, I've always liked support weapons. And so at the time I felt like there wasn't really much love, like for support weapons. There's a lot of snipers. Still isn't. I know.
There isn't enough. Yeah.
Don't remind me, okay? God. but like, so I was kind of like, well, I enjoyed watching other YouTubers like Dutch and Jet and Navrich at the time, and like, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Specifically when Dutch kind of came out, I remember watching his channels, and I was like, man, this guy's actually using like a really well-tuned gun. It's HPA, like no one else at the time had done that. And like, his production quality was really good. At that time, he hadn't gone full clickbait, and I'll say that to his face all the time. But okay, we could shelve that aspect of the conversation for a little bit later, because that's a whole nother topic. But like, I was like, man, like he was uploading in 4K like before anyone else was. I was like, this is really great. And I'm like, something's missing. Like, I love support weapons, like nothing else. No one else is doing this. Like, so I'm like, maybe there's other people out there like me. I'm just going to like go out there, do what I think is fun, and have a good time, and kind of share my experience with my friends. And also, as I started doing it, I found out that it was actually a lot easier to attend events on a national level than I had previously thought of. Like, from my perspective, I went from like thinking no one else in the country played airsoft. Like, I was like, oh, yeah. I remember reading the old Tokyo Marui magazines in Japanese in my room, like, late at night, like being like, oh, P90, wow, I wish I had P90. Like, like always being like, I want one, like I want more, but I couldn't, like at the time afford it or whatever.
Yeah, well, sure. When you're first starting out airsoft, or you're used to the Dick's Sporting Goods guys, like you're talking about, you see $300 for an airsoft gun. What the fuck? Who pays that? I can get the same thing at Dick's for $100.
It's funny you say that. I have my first actual airsoft gun here. It still works. So not like my God. Springer. Oh, this is my Tokyo Marui MP5 SD. I actually bought it from Shorty USA, if you remember.
I remember Shorty USA. Yep. Hell yeah. Let's get an F in the chat for Shorty USA.
F in the chat, boys and girls. But like, no, this thing, I haven't ever upgraded it. Still bone stock. Still works. Charging handle's obviously broken off of it because I slapped the shit out of it. Everyone who has an MP5 knows that.
Yep.
But yeah, and like when I bought this, I remember I was like the first kid, and like it really threw a wrench into the mix because all my other guns were spring guns, and so I'm like, I'd invite the hockey team over after practice or something and be like, hey, let's play airsoft, like, and I'd be the only guy. All the spring guns. Keep in mind, back in the day, it's a 275 feet per second, Tokyo Marui gun, but like for backyard combat, we're talking like
that was
I could shoot. That was
I was a lion amongst children. It was a slaughter.
I had the big old 9.6 battery, like the massive board.
Large, like the ones you would get from what was the fucking website, like cheap airsoft batteries or something.
Yeah, it was. They were all. I can't remember the brand name.
Intellect.
Yes, Intellect battery.
Hell
oh my
yeah.
God. Yeah. So but yeah, that was a thing. But so basically, long story short, I was sick of like, I didn't like what airsoft was being portrayed in my area. I wanted to solve the problem of, hey, like, this is what airsoft is. I wanted to get my friends to play with me because I was a loser, and none of my friends played airsoft. And then at the same time, I kind of wanted to like see what I wanted to see. So I was just like, well, I'll just get started and making videos. And they were pretty bad at first, but like, I just, I have a lot of friends that are like, professional photographers or involved in some sort of high level media, production. And like, like, for example, one of my uncles is the city photographer for Orlando, and just networking and like talking to people, and like always just being like, okay, how does this work? Like, I still remember to this day, like calling one of my photographer friends, Hunter, and asking him how to split. This was like, picture yourself 12:30 at night, right? It's a school night. You get a phone call, Alfonse. I'm like, hey Hunter, I'm trying to split this clip in the timeline. Is there a way that you could like drag the same clip into the timeline, but at a different point, like without having to keep redragging and cropping? And he was like, it's called the splice tool. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Hell yeah, brother.
In my mind, I could all of a sudden make videos much faster, relatively speaking, because I was like, I used to like, when I first started, I was like, okay, we look at the head cam file, I crop a piece, I drag it in. All right, I want to switch to scope cam. I'm going to crop this piece of scope cam, drop it in, like just that, like chop and chop. Oh, it was awful. But just always trying to like learn from other people that know what they're talking about. Cause I was never like a media savvy person or tech savvy. Like I was more of like the kid that was building models, and like I was very into science and stuff like that. But like
you were either modeling or building models.
Yeah, like that's the other thing. But no, so like and my parents weren't all about that. They're just very, by the book, kind of like, old school mentality. So I owe, if anything, I owe everything that I've accomplished now to like some of the people that have helped me, like Hunter. If he's watching this, he's probably laughing right now, sitting there on his PC, and just little things like that, like just a little help from one person went a long way, and I'm kind of just like now at this point, like obviously I'm doing this full time. I'm still finishing up school. I still have about 3 semesters left with engineering school, and I'm basically just trying to fund my entire college experience now based off of YouTube because I don't want to take out student loans. I already paid off all my student loans. Basically, every cent I've paid from YouTube, I took and paid off my student loans, and then immediately spent it more on airsoft. And then as of
there you go.
As of more recently, like I've been privileged to be able to help out my dad because my dad has had some medical issues and has been in and out of the hospital, and then he lost his job, and like so I had to help him with rent and etc. and borrow money and blah blah blah. And so it's like I feel like I'm sitting here, I'm editing an airsoft video, and sometimes like to me in my world, I'm just like, damn it, like I gotta help out dad with the airsoft video.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Holding
I mean, that's legit though.
videos, and like it just seems kind of cringy and weird, but like it's just where I'm at right now, and I just
yeah, I don't think it's cringy and weird though. The weird part is that this is something I kind of have talked about, never on like a Gun Gamers podcast, but something that I talk about to people sometimes that's surreal. We live in an era where if you can get a relatively low amount of know-how, like because it's not a hard barrier to entry really to get into YouTube. Like it's just like learning and networking.
There's some speed bumps, but like they're not the end of the world.
There's like parts of it that are complicated and difficult, but you can like make your own fucking TV show and just get paid for it. Like we live in this crazy time. It's super cool.
Yeah, we live in. It's a great time to be alive. Like, and kind of to your point where you were just saying about like the ease of access to opportunity with this is like, in my experience, like it doesn't matter how shitty you are or like how bad your content is or like how little you know, because in my experience, you could literally not have known less, and you could literally like. There's no like I knew absolutely nothing. I didn't even have a computer. My laptop, if I open up the computer I started with, it takes me like 10 minutes just to try and open up a Google Chrome window, like, and start the process. Like, it's awful. So like anyone, like if I can, I'm kind of like sitting here, I'm like, my dumb ass can do it. I know I'm not, but you know what I'm saying is like,
I know exactly what you're saying.
If my dumb ass can do it, anyone can do it. You just have to be able to keep doing it. You got to check your ego, because like there's going to be a lot of times where you're like, I feel like some of the best improvements I've ever made, at least with my content, and I know that's not saying a lot because they're just stupid airsoft videos, but like the biggest improvements I've made is like,
given the sphere we're in, it's totally relevant. So
yeah. I think the biggest progress stints or like points have been when I like realized or like self-reflected or based on like negative feedback or someone else saying something to me of like, I'm like, man, like my shit's like, this is bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like being tough on yourself, always trying to improve, versus like I see a shit ton of people, and I know you've seen this in airsofters, where they just live in their own little world, and like even if you try and offer constructive criticism, it's like it's just the end of the world. And so I think it's more of me just taking like the same approach I took to, like, for example, the fact that I studied engineering. What is like, if you knew me when I graduated high school, like I barely passed algebra 2 in high school. Like I was in such a different mindset of like, I was raised a very spoiled child. My parents were very wealthy. Like everything was great. I had everything paid for. And then one day in 2008, the auto industry crashed, and like my life changed forever. My dad lost his job. I went from like, I was so spoiled as a kid. I went from like demanding that my parents buy me an Escalade for my 16th birthday to like not having a car, not getting my license till I turned 18, and buying a $700 Jeep off my cousin, like a beater without the front grille, like total change of perspective. And like I feel like that's kind of played a huge part in my life, because it's like I've seen both sides of the coin. Usually you're either like you come from like wealth and like everything's handed to you, or you're on the opposite side.
You have to change anything.
Correct. And then everything, like for me, my dream, like growing up in high school, like in high school, I played hockey, and like my whole dream was like, I want to play in the NHL. Like that was my thing. And like I poured everything I had since the time I was like, I probably started when I was like 8, playing AAA hockey all the way up to juniors. And that was like my one singular goal. And I was kind of just like, fuck school. I don't need any of this stupid shit. Like my parents are paying the bills for everything. I don't, blah, blah, blah. And then one day it just came, I got cut from my junior team, and it was like, well, now what? Like, everything that I had wanted to accomplish in life, like, didn't work out. And so there was kind of like a reset at that point in my life. And that was like probably one of the biggest changes. And also because I went from like the other side to now it's like, I have to pay my own way through school. Like my parents aren't wealthy at all. Like I'm literally funding my dad, you know what I mean? Like to like, it really was it was the biggest ego kicker possible. And after you lose that one thing, it was like, at this point, it's like, oh, well, I've already lost the biggest thing. Like I felt like I had nothing to lose at this point.
So what do I care what someone says about my fucking internet videos?
Oh, yeah,
like if someone tells me it sucks.
Yeah, like, oh man, you're a cringe, Alfonse. Your airsoft videos are shit. I'm like, that's all you got, man? Like, come on, give me something better than that. Like,
just to butt in real quick, Shino, thank you for the Prime sub, and then Chris Mellon, thanks for the donation. Appreciate it.
Well, you had a question. Are we addressing that question?
Oh, what's your opinion on Scottish independence?
I don't.
I'm not place Scottish. For geopolitical.
I would say my opinion on Scottish independence is that the votes that have been held are a good idea, and however those votes go those are how the votes go. I don't have a strong, well-researched opinion on this. I'm sorry.
So sad.
I like Scotch whiskey though.
It is good. Back to the topic at hand.
Yes.
I like LMGs.
Yeah.
And MP5. Very good.
MP5 best.
MP5
but
is
AK
best.
also best.
I think the point of I think a lot of the point of your story there, Alfonso, is very germane to like if someone is trying to get into YouTube, checking your ego at the door.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Back to that point, I was like, there's definitely a lot of ego checking moments, and like you kind of have to look at yourself very critically and be like, for example, my strategy was like, I'm gonna look at what is the best out there right now, and like whether it was bodybuilding, whether it was sports, whatever. I'm like, what is the best person in this specific field doing? For airsoft, it was like looking at what Navrich and Jet and all them. What's the best that's putting out there? And my philosophy was, I need to be at least the same level of quality, if not better. And so like also something that I think people kind of like maybe short sell themselves on is like they look at things in a way where they don't take necessarily potential positives out of a negative situation. Like you may look at someone like, let's say you don't like Dutch, right? Dutch the Hooligan. Mm-hmm. A lot of people give him shit because of his clickbait nature and the cheater videos and this and that. And I understand all those points. And a lot of times, like I would agree with you, but at the same time, there's something that you could take away from his content that, you could use that, put it towards yours. And maybe let's say you don't agree with like, hey, I don't want to make cheater videos, but you can respect.
But there's other elements of his formula,
like production quality.
Production value is excellent. As
production,
as
like his audio. He is an audio man. Like if he was to watch this, he would love. Like he audio man, and even just like from the point of how he plays airsoft. Like I know that might be cringe of saying like, oh, he's really good at airsoft, but like
I don't think it is, because especially when you're playing airsoft for the purpose of recording, like there is a certain like level of skill that you need to have in order to be able to, make compelling videos. Otherwise, if you just suck ass and you're not doing anything interesting, what's the point?
Right. Yeah. And then like you can look at other people, like look at Jet. What I think the best thing that Jet did was, well, he was playing all over the country. You go to Jet's channel, he's playing at a new place every time he plays, and he's a bit comical. You could look at Christoph, at Navrich, and look what he did. He revolutionized sniping. Sniping's really cool. Yep. He was also super fast paced, like the way he cut his videos and blended it with music. Like that's a whole nother thing. So I'm kind of like, if you want to do something, take your like you have to have a vision, right? Like I clearly was like, hey, this is what I want to do, and like I want to just show people what I think airsoft is, and I want to have fun doing it. Like just go out there and have fun. Take your vision,
I want to do this, but LMGs.
But LMGs. And then sort of just like don't be afraid to like be able to check your ego and like be like, okay, maybe this isn't the right thing to do. And also at the same time, maybe look at people that you don't necessarily like and like be like, but they do this really well. And if I want to be successful at this same thing, I need to at least do this, if not, or improve on it, kind of thing. And so I was like, well, I'm going to just look at what the best people are doing, take, the positives of this and this and this, and kind of like put this in my little melting pot and be like, this is my, like what I like. And, show that as like my formula. And I think like, you see it all the time is like, I think the worst thing you could do is not be yourself. I know that sounds super cliche and influencer, but like
I don't think it is cliche. I think that's a very appropriate thing, because a lot of people try to like put on, like I mentioned, you put on like a brand and a character, but like that brand and character that you put on is like based on what you like doing.
Right.
A lot of other people, they will just like try to put on this version of what they think they should be doing to be successful, and it just comes off as super disingenuous, and it doesn't seem like it's very representative. And that was like and that was something that like with gun gamers, obviously in terms of success, you and I are in two different fucking wavelengths. But in terms of what we do, like with our channel, we just want to like very directly and honestly represent, this is why we like airsoft, this is what we get out of it, this is the shit we want to talk about, how we want to talk about it. And there's no filter. I mean, there's a filter kind of,
right, but with obvious constraints that we have to all play by the same rules of, like, you know, specifically with YouTube, you have to be within YouTube's guidelines. You can't you know, do this. And then obviously with certain social guidelines, you can't be, you know,
you can't just be a fucking asshole.
Correct. Yeah. So it's like there's, I mean, you can, but like
but there will be consequences. Someone had a super chat I want to read that's actually pretty funny, and then we'll keep moving on the conversation. Someone read, what if Eric and Alfonse did an airsoft calendar and Rager panties, plate carriers, LMGs, and no shirts? I would say give me like a year to get in condition to do that. With the 2019 I had, I got a pretty solid dad bod rocking right now.
That's good though. Dad bods are in. Come on, man.
I'm not at my best right now. You know, the coronavirus has hit us all in ways that we can't work out.
A C to your thickness level. I got you.
No, but like, time and place, and Eric, we can make it happen.
All right. We'll make something happen.
Alfonse, I can't imagine you're ever on the bottom of your game when it comes to working out. So,
well, I mean, no, like, I don't know. I don't think of myself as being like, I guess it's from my perspective, right? From like, because so if you sit in my head, I'm like remembering all my past experiences, like playing football, college football, and like when I played defensive line, like, for example, some airsofters will, like, you know, comment and, you know, be like, oh, he's super strong, this and that, and like people follow me for fitness, but it's like in my head, I'm like, I am like, like, I know dudes that could deadlift 900 pounds, like, so I'm like 700, that's cool, like, all right, respectable, but like definitely nothing to be like, whoa, you know, holy shit, like seeing my friends rep out 405 close grip for 15 reps on bench, I'm just like, yep, I'm a little bit.
So from our perspective,
I'm pretty well below the fucking average in terms of like bodybuilding and powerlifting and fitness.
That's okay though, and like that's also, I feel like, a point that, which is why I feel like main reason I feel like I need to do more fitness stuff is not only it's just something that I do normally. Like, it's not like I'm trying like every day, or not, sometimes, you know, not every day as of recently. I'm going to the gym, working out, doing crazy like, that's fun for me. You know, not everyone likes that, but there's something to be like, I get messages all the time from, you know, whether it's like young kids or whatever, and they're just like they'll send you a message, they'll be like, hey man, you know, I get picked on in school, and like I'm really just trying to work out and I don't know what to do, and like I really like your videos because they give me a reason to, you know, look forward to something positive about the day. Like, you get messages like that, and I'm just like, well, fuck me, like, what the hell am I doing? I'm sitting over here like counting my LMGs when I could be doing like, you know, something meaningful that I already enjoy to help people. It just kind of, I just have to get out of my comfort zone a little bit more, because I don't like if I had my way, I'm pretty introverted actually. Like, I would be very happy just like, you know, it's a double-edged sword, because like I'm really shy, but at the same time, like, all these awesome friends I meet, and every time I go out and play airsoft, like I meet some new person and like we have the same interest, and it's like an awesome thing, and it's like I don't want to like not see that. So I'm kind of like torn between where I'm just like, you know, I just need to start doing it. And like, but back to my original point is, I don't think I'm anything of noteworthy in terms of like certain aspects. Like, I'm always kind of like, okay, like, sure, this is good relative to the whole spectrum, but like I want to be the best at this. Like, I you know. And so maybe I'm crazy, and maybe it's going to lead me to like a never-ending like chasing of a, you know, a dream. But like it's something that I enjoy doing, and like I'm just gonna keep doing it. So You know,
that's how fitness is. Like your body is like a Harley. It's never done, right?
Yeah, it's like a Tokyo Marui Rico shop upgrade project. You're never quite done.
Oh God, don't even say those words to me. Oh God. I've got a 416 sitting over there. Oh God.
Like the messages you get where people are like looking for workout advice, I've gotten a lot of those because like a lot of people know I used to be super fat. Like I was 350 pounds. So I get messages all the time because I don't want to like pick on the airsoft demographic here, but there's a lot of people in America in general, and airsoft gets that same cross section where there's a lot of obese people. And a lot of those obese people obviously want to not be obese anymore, right, and are looking for positive inspiration and positive advice to make that change. So it's like you said, like people will message me being like, well, how do I lose weight? How do I do all this? And I'm like, fuck, man, I'm like not happy with where I'm at.
Same.
And now
I feel like
yeah, and I feel like I'm being asked to like get people where I'm at. So it's super, it like kind of fucks with you.
No, and that's like literally the internal debate that I deal with like on a daily basis, which I was trying to hint at is like a lot of these people, they're not at where they want to be, which I can relate to, and they know where they want to go in terms of goal, but they just don't know how to get there. And as someone who, okay, so like for example, when I graduated high school, I weighed 153 pounds. Right, I was like hella skinny. I would share pictures with you, but it's pretty embarrassing. Maybe some other time, but like
maybe slide in my DMs.
And then I'll post a cringy picture on Transformation Tuesday on Instagram.
Gotta show up all those ladies with your
yes. but no. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I also weighed like 275 pounds when I played football and went down this terribly dangerous road of powerlifting / becoming as humanly big as possible as I could, you know, like eating 10,000 calories a day for months. Like every post workout, I would get a hot and ready pizza, and I'd have a bottle of the Taco Bell Nacho Ranch sauce, and I would sit there in the gym.
Oh my God!
I would sit there in the gym at the counter where people are working out, and I would literally every pizza slice pour on the ranch, just eat the whole thing. And then I would go home, and then I would make Eggo waffles with butter on them, but I would put them in a popcorn bowl, and I'd eat the whole box like popcorn, like I'd watch some bodybuilding documentary, and I'd just be like,
Christ,
yeah, like,
that is fucking amazing.
800-pound deadlift, yeah. Like,
I mean, I did witness you eat 8 eggs, so I don't think I've ever seen 8 eggs on a plate in my entire life until then.
Six, to be fair, 6 egg whites and 2 egg yolks, or 1 egg yolk, 7 and 1 is roughly 42 grams of protein, which in my mind is the ideal meal amount of protein, because the body cannot digest more than that in a 2.5 hours window. So like this is like kind of shit that I'm talking about, where like for example, when I started school, I was not an engineering major. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get a business degree, like, and I studied human structure and function, and like, so I took a bunch of nutritional science classes, and I learned and like combine that with like knowledge that I learned from football with like the nutritionist, and like working out with, I had friends that were professional bodybuilders, and like getting them sending me diet plans, and like my same strategy I was talking about with YouTube is like where you take this and this and this, and you're like, because like navigating the supplement world and the fitness world is like, it's like, yeah, I wish I could,
real bad.
I can't imagine.
Picture like you're just like a knight in the middle of just like a sea of just bullshit and cringe, and you're just like trying to fend it off and find your way to like the tunnel at the end. And the problem with the fitness industry is like, I feel like the most of, and it's very simple, and it's actually quite applicable to airsoft too when it comes to sponsored content, is the most effective way to get to your goal is not necessarily the most profitable. Like it's very, like, for example, people that tell me or ask like, what supplements, what's this, what's that? And as someone who's been down the extreme of the extreme on the supplement road, like spending $500 a month in supplements from GNC, and, you know, just crazy amounts of shit, to learning and realizing that that's not how you actually gain weight, and becoming dependent on real food, consistency, like knowing the science of how it's working, stimulating muscle growth, all this other crap. That's not what these supplement companies want to tell you. And the influencers that you see who are getting paid also don't want to tell you that, because then they don't make money. There's no incentive, you know what I mean? Yep. And also you're dealing with this insecurity amongst people where you're like, you know, like if you've seen Pumping Iron, the classic like Arnold line,
yeah,
he's like talking about Franco pre-competition, where he's like, Frank, like he's basically saying Franco's his dad. He's like, on the day of the competition, maybe I don't give Franco the right advice. You know what I mean? Like you're dealing with that too. They're dealing with all this bullshit, and it's like, as someone who, at one point I was sitting there and I'm just like, hey, I'm a really nerdy kid. I want to get girls. My parents didn't let me have a girlfriend until I was 18. Like I was a sheltered little kid. I'm like, and I got picked on in school all the time. And like, I was just like, hey, I want to be able to stand up to these kids picking on me and not be a little bitch and like have girls think I'm attractive, blah, 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 blah. And like, I didn't know how to get there. I knew what I wanted. And like, I've went down a lot of wrong paths in terms of like, let's say we went down the supplement path and then we went down like this path and this bullshit workout routine to then learning like the actual
consistency, actual food,
right. So
watching what you put in your body.
Correct. So when I see people like that message me, I'm like, it cuts me deep. I know it sounds kind of cringe, but I'm like, I feel that. And I'm like,
well, because you've been there.
Right. I'm like, I've been there. Like that's me. Like I need, and like, I remember sitting back when I was at that point, I was like, man, if only someone would have told me this or this. And so like, I feel like it's the least I can do. And that's kind of been like my motivation between wanting to do fitness content. It's just like, I have all this information in my brain. And now that it's weird. I have a platform now that I could, sort of
use.
And it's like,
it, man.
And it's like this weird intersection of airsoft and that kind of also airsoft, video games, and fitness are all weirdly intertwined because it's like people in those communities also have those goals. And so like, I feel like A, it's already something I want to do. And B, it's, I kind of, if anything, I just out of spite for like seeing all the bullshit on social media, I'm like, all right, kind of like what I take with airsoft. I really do envy like with your guys' channel, how you're one of the like, I don't want to say few because I like, anytime I say something, it's like I'm gonna piss off somebody. But like, you have a more realistic approach of like what to expect from a Milsim, or like, calling out the sponsored bullshit. And so I'm kind of like on both sides of that because my channels became big. Like all of a sudden, like everyone, like I get 100 emails a week of like, hey, you want to do this with this product? Like blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And as someone who also was on the other side, where like I was watching the people that were doing the sponsored things and then like seeing that and then learning how to build my own LMGs and do this and this. And like, I get it hits me deep in this regard too, where I'm like, no, like I want to show people that you don't have to spend $2,000 on an LMG. You can like, don't buy this. I'm not going to name brands, but don't buy this gun. How about I just teach you or show you how to do it? Like, and just stuff like that. And that's kind of why I try to really stay away from sponsored stuff because like,
because the honesty is one of the things that was like one of my goals with Gun Gamers when we started was I recognized a lot of like, and the weird part is like I feel like since Gun Gamers came out, airsoft has like kind of gotten better at it. But when I started Gun Gamers with Kyle and Ian, other Ian, better Ian. But when I started Gun Gamers, like we recognized that there was like this vacuum of honesty in a lot of the content. It felt like, and that was the thing that really like got my goat. And I'm like, man, fuck this. I want to make like an airsoft channel that's like normal dudes like saying what they really think. Like I don't want to have this fake thing where everyone's just saying everything's the best all the time. Right, and obviously, I've ruffled my fair share of feathers. People can agree and disagree with content I've made. But I also think that's another thing that was missing was people who really wanted to have like a dialogue on shit. People who were okay with disagreeing with other people and being disagreed with and having that back and forth, because building the game and building the community really depended on opening up that dialogue.
Correct. And wow, sensible conversation. Stop it! You stop right now. That's
Well, and I especially think it's so perfect because like it's airsoft. Like if there's a subject that we should all be able to discuss in whatever way and not give a fuck.
Yes. See, you're like literally to a core exactly what my whole things are. But let me tell you, it gets really hard at some time. Like for example, I would never at this point where I'm at now, I would never fault anyone or any other influencer for doing sponsored content or be like like when I see it, I've sort of changed a little bit. And I don't know if this is good or bad, but like before I'd look at someone doing a sponsored post and I'd be like, oh, you fucking asshole, like get the hell out of here. Like, clearly this is bullshit. Or you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm being dramatic, but like now I see it and I see through the post and I'm like, oh, this is what's happening. Oh, and like you know how much money is being exchanged behind the scenes. And then that brings me to like a different space where I'm like, man, like when people talk a lot of crap about me or say stuff like that, like I always just am just like, well, you obviously like, I don't take it personally because I'm like, you don't know my situation. You don't know this. Like, you never know what someone's going through. Like, for example, like with right now with like me and my dad and like my dad in the hospital and this and that. And like, I'm literally everything I'm making, I'm giving to my dad. It's like, what's to say someone else wasn't at that point? And if someone came to you and was like, hey, so we're going to pay you $3,000 for this 30-second shout out for Raid Shadow Legends.
The most immersive RPG experience on the Play Store.
We've had this conversation before. Oh, hell yeah.
Right. So if like I'm just sitting there, I'm like, $3,000. All I got to do is talk, like say this cringy shit on my YouTube video for 30 seconds, like, and I get this, and this will help me do this, and like take care of this, because like you don't ever know what someone's going through, like in their internal.
And I think that's a weird perspective that like I actually think I lacked when I really started out. So it's funny how like my perspective that was like a core part of Gun Gamers has also like kind of shifted. God, I'm gonna confess to something, and like everyone's gonna think I'm a fucking asshole, but like hear me out. Initially, when I started Gun Gamers, I kind of thought Jonathan from Airsoftology was a shill. Like I'll name the name. I'll say it because I'm like, man, this dude just makes these reviews and he always like says everything's good or whatever. That was my perspective, at least, you know, based on what I had seen at that time. And then I actually met Jonathan and like had more conversations with him and actually started watching more of his content and like came to further understand like his mentality, his ethos, like the way and why he does things. And it like really made me really look at the way I looked at airsoft content, the way I looked at sponsored players, sponsored posts and shit. And I went from thinking, well, this is cringy and disingenuous to, well, these guys are trying to make a living promoting their hobby, and there's aspects that come with that.
Right.
And as long as it's all transparent and like people say, hey, this was sent to me, you know, this is a sponsored review. Like, as long as the transparency is there, now I'm kind of like, all right, well, I don't have a fucking problem with it as long as everyone knows what's up.
Yeah, no, Jonathan's a good dude, and I kind of thought the same thing too. But once you get to meet Jonathan, you understand where he comes from, and he tells you a little bit more, and you're like, okay, this is his job. But like you're opening up a whole nother can of worms, like, and part of my ethos too, still now is like I will never become a shill. I will fight to the death to like, even if it means me getting banned from every single event and not working with any companies. My end game plan is obviously that like, I feel like I don't have to rely on just airsoft to make content. Like at some, like, you know, so like I can say, hey, this gun is fucking shit. Like, or this, because I'm not reliant on being handcuffed by a sponsorship deal with an airsoft gun manufacturer where like, in regards to the whole thing with me and the BB drama, like, I'm just
man, that was fun.
I'm just like, I don't need free BBs. I'll pay for my BBs. I don't want like, this is the bigger topic I picture is like airsoft sponsorships in general. After I passed the 100,000 subscribers last year, I have had more like I don't want to go as far as saying it's ruined airsoft with me, but like I've seen a side of airsoft that like I want no part of, and I wish, honestly, I really do wish that I could just go back to like when I started, where I'd show up and no one knew me. The only caveat to that is like there's a lot of nice people out there. There's a lot of great people that I meet, like you guys, like. The only reason we know each other is because of our videos and we met up at an event and this and that. It's like, so like I definitely like.
Am I still the only person who can make you take Jameson shots?
I'm not a big drinker and I don't like to drink. I have nothing against drinking.
I know. Well,
you know. No, you're not the only one. People give me a hard time about that all the time. But I will stick to my guns. So it's
not good for your the bodybuilding regimen.
Not even just fitness, mentally. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I had a couple of questions I was going to ask you, but in a solid 51-minute diatribe, you've managed to hit all of them without me asking, so good job, man.
Sorry.
That was the best part about this.
No, don't feel bad, man. That's
awesome. I thought this was going to be more like prodding interview, and like you just went, and it's like, fuck yeah, awesome.
You're making my job really easy. Don't worry about it.
It's like, someone talk to me, damn it. No, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's a double-edged sword because I really do put a lot of like personal, like I feel like if anything, I care too much about stuff and I take things too personally. Like when someone says something on a Facebook group of someone that I know, I'll, like I get really motivated and I'll be like, oh, well, I'll show them. When really not like really relevant, and I should just be like, it doesn't matter. But like I was saying about the airsoft industry, like there's some really great people, so I need to be careful with what I say. But also there's a shit ton of bad shit that like one of the things that I always want to make sure is like I don't want to go around and talk shit about people. Like that is the last thing on earth, because I'm like, do whatever floats your boat, man. The only time like I'll respond or reach out is if someone like incoming fires coming my way, and I'm kind of like, even then though, I don't want to like be that guy to be like, Ruh! Like I'll just like, the only time I try and step in is like if I need to set the record straight of like something that like someone says. Like I'm sure you deal with it too, but you're a little more straightforward, and I feel like more intimidating than me. So I don't know. But...
I don't feel like I'm intimidating, but like the thing is like, when people like try to fuck with me on the internet, like I don't care. Like it's the internet, whatever.
Right.
People are gonna,
Eric,
people are gonna say dumb shit.
You terrified me. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Eric.
Then again, this is when like someone threw the fucking gun at another person at that event you hosted, and you were screaming.
Wait, what?
Like a good clickbait video.
Yeah, there is one time in the last like 5 years that I've become uncontrollably angry at airsoft. And it was because someone assaulted someone at a game I was running, and I never got to catch the guy. So
that's fair.
So I got very fucking infuriated, and I went into the staging. Like I didn't know that this had happened. I'm sorry, I'm like going on a tangent, but I didn't know that this had happened until someone came up to me in the staging area in a break between the halves of the game and said to me, "Hey, we had someone come in here and leave, and they say that someone threw a gun at them like during an altercation over like, I don't know, some bullshit, like he shot him too close or something. The guy got mad and threw his gun at him."
Classic airsoft.
And there was someone there who corroborated and witnessed it like from a distance, unfortunately, so they couldn't get a good description of him while he was wearing multicam.
Multicam.
Yeah, right. Very
60% right there.
And I went into the staging area, and because like I hear this, I'm like, I'm running this game for people's enjoyment, and someone wants to fucking assault someone at this game I'm responsible for. And I went into the staging area and I fucking lost it. And I just went, what did I think?
Angry Eric.
I came in and I said, I just heard from another player that someone threw their fucking gun at somebody. And I just want you to know that when I find out who the fuck that is, I'm on a first name basis with every field owner and event promoter in the Northeast, and you will be fucking banned from everywhere. You are adults. Fucking act like it. And it was like as loud as my voice has ever been, which I'm a loud fucking person.
Very deep bass voice. I feel like everyone go ahead.
And it was dead silent in the whole staging area by the time I was done.
This is the first time I had been to this field, and like this is the first time I'd met Eric, and I'm like, oh, is this a common thing? Oh man,
this guy's fucking wild.
What are these gun gamers video shoots like? Good lord.
And for the rest of the day, I'm like admitting the game, and I'm just seething because like I want to know who it was who did it, but no one has a good description. And the guy who got the gun thrown at him never responded to the field's messages asking for like who it was.
He's just like that meme where like you're like,
disappeared. Everyone, and I was so pissed because like I meant it. I was gonna send a message with this guy's face and name to every fucking field in Western New York, every fucking event promoter I know, and be like, this motherfucker assaulted someone at one of my games. Do with that information what you will.
Everyone's eyes were saucers, and we're like, oh man.
Oh fuck!
Also, Lutz, thank you for the $1.69 donation. I appreciate it.
Which I think ties in. Wow, that was a tangent. I'm sorry, but I think that ties in well to our attitude that we share, where it's like, this is a game. Who the fuck would do that?
That's what I'm. It's like for me, I don't know. It's just weird because I don't think of like being relevant in airsoft as like a big thing. Because like I have so many friends that have succeeded better than I have in other aspects of life, whether it was like playing college hockey, being professional, playing football, like all the like box check ideas of like what I thought of at the time as like, something quote unquote, something special. Like I'm not even close to, you know what I mean? But like we do live in this age where it is crazy, where it, like social media has become so powerful in terms of marketing, and like you part of the problem with like what I'm dealing with airsoft is like, for example, even your audience, I'd say 20, like you have what, 20,000 subscribers now?
21,000.
21,000.
Big numbers.
Yeah, I know, but that represents more airsofters than there are in probably the entire country. You know what I mean?
Probably.
So like when you really start getting down to it, like the audience that the people on social media have represent a bigger audience than the companies with all this money and everything that they have. So they fear the shit out of like influencers, and they try. It's just like, if I could like dwindle it down into a singular kind of topic, it would be like trying to control what you say and do. Like that's been what's pissed me off the most. Like just based on like the stupidest things of like, oh, you can't say this, or oh, like, you know, like I'll show up to a game paid my own way, this or that, and like, you know, like after it'll be like, oh, well, you can't, don't do this, this, and this, and I'm like, I don't work for you. Like I'm a paying customer. You should treat, like, being treated differently is a double-edged sword. I don't want to be treated differently. Like I would be very happy if I could show up to a game and be a normal airsofter and have no one else treat me differently and have all the great moments with the random airsoft friends that I make, and like have the cover me, bro. I'm like, all right, and you know,
Dude,
and then like getting blasted.
We should get Alfonse to a hee-haw.
I was thinking about this the other day. Yeah.
So what you're describing right now is why I don't want to say we invented it, because we didn't, but it's a thing that we're doing, and we have this group of guys who are staff for I don't know if you've like heard of Survival Omega Productions, but it's a post-apocalyptic LARP event. Yeah.
I can't remember. Someone else was talking about that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, Airsoftology mentioned them in a video. And I've done videos, but whatever. The point was, most of us are in a position where like we staff a lot of games, we have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of times we go play airsoft, and we just created this thing where it's like, all right, well, what if we all just get together, go to fields where like we don't really know anybody, and just hang out and shitball and not give a fuck, and like we don't tell anyone we're going, we just fucking do whatever we want and hang out, and it's no responsibilities, you know, whatever. And that has become like my favorite form of airsoft now, because now it's not like when you go to an event and a lot of people know you and there's kind of an expectation. Now it's just like, man, I'm just shitballing. I don't have to go fuck.
Well, it's a double-edged sword because two things. One, I look at like, because of like the story, like how I outlined how I got started into airsoft and doing YouTube, of like, I just look at like every person that I meet with regards to airsoft as like my friend. And I know it can sound cringe because I'm like, you see a lot of people that are like, oh, you guys are all my friends, but I really do like mean that. Like I look at people that I meet not as like a fan or what. I'm like, you guys are just my friends. Like, and I immediately would try and share my everything I could say at that moment to like make sure that that person, you know, is like, this is a whole nother topic too. And like one of the reasons I love going to the Desert Fox events, and I really, I love, you know, hanging out with Jet and Leah, because like what we were just talking about, they just, like, everything's chill. It's exactly what you described. They treat me like a normal person. We're all on the same page. And if anything, it makes me respect them more, because like, here's another topic is like, when you have a bigger audience, you really have to kind of focus on, I'm sure you can relate to this, of like, you have certain times where there's very limited interaction with you or someone that meets you for the first time in a brief moment. And I've seen it secondhand from like, you know, not knowing Jet, and like hearing things people say bad about Jet, or like, Jet's overshooting everyone, or Jet's an asshole, this or that. And then like hanging out, being at those same events and seeing the circumstances of those things transpiring and seeing them happen, and then seeing the result from it, it really changed my perspective. Because like, for example, like, let's say you're playing airsoft and, you know, some dude, you walk into a building and some dude on your team, friendly fire, blasts you in the face from 2 feet away with an LMG. And all of a sudden, like, you're all pissed off because you're obviously in pain. And then at that exact moment, right after that, you're walking back and some little kid or some maybe annoying airsofter, if you want to say that, like someone asks you a stupid question or something. And like in that moment, you're not in the right headspace, and you say, you know, just you don't give the person the time of day as if you were sitting there like, you know, hey, like just hanging out. As if you're just
chilling.
And then that person takes that limited interaction with you, and that means a lot to them, because that's the only thing they know.
Their assumption about your whole personality.
Then all of a sudden you become that, and so like that's kind of one of the things I really try and make sure is like, there's a lot of times in airsoft where like I'll get mad at something that's happening, like where I get blasted in the face, BB in my nose or something. And because I feel like if everyone would just take more of the attitude that we had with airsoft, you would have a lot less of these experiences. Because like when something like that happens, I'm just silly still. I'm kind of like, oh fuck, like, oh, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you got to laugh it off.
Right. And I feel like it's all about how your mindset, like if you go into it, and I think this is something you guys do really good, is like sort of tailor, like letting people know like what to expect versus reality. Because like obviously YouTube is not a realistic representation of it. I mean, and I say that with a grain of salt because like one of my goals is to make every video I make as realistic as possible, because I remember watching YouTubers before and like just seeing like very unrealistic representations of airsoft.
Yeah.
And I understand though, because like at some point I'm like, oh well, you don't
have to make an entertaining video.
Right, you're making an entertaining video. So like my whole thing is always to try and keep it as like realistic as possible. But as of lately, I've been becoming less and less attached to like for example, I would only want to post the best moments from my gameplays. Like what you'll see on video, like 100. Like I made a 115 kill streak video, right? Well, that video actually took about an hour to happen, like as opposed to 20 minutes. So, but like my whole process is like, I don't want to make it unrealistic and throw in, like I could have thrown in a bunch of more footage from later on the day, but I'm like, I want to tell a story start to finish. And I got to like, my process is chop out the dead space in between. And so it's like, sometimes it may give you an unrealistic expectation of like how it happens. But at the same time, like when I'm recording and I'm playing, maybe it's a bad thing or a good thing. I know now what I need to do to make good footage. Like the biggest, and this is kind of funny because it's like the cliche, like, oh, I want to start making airsoft videos. Well, the very first thing that you're going to realize when you start making airsoft videos, you go out, you record your first gameplay. If everything goes right, you're going to go back and look at the footage and you're probably going to be like, holy shit, I'm very boring on footage. Like, it's not exciting. Like you literally have to put yourself in this weird state of mind where like, you're like, super ADHD where you're like,
I gotta be moving, I gotta be doing shit.
So like when I go play now, that's what I do. And I kind of, for me, I get enjoyment out of it because I try and like tie that in with the fitness thing. I'm like, oh, we're on interval training, brother. Like we're going pedal to the metal. Like, so like, but like, because I'm on the post-production end and I'm also filming, like I'm like the entire process. I'm like, I know what to do to make my job easier. And that's basically like the negative side of it is, you can't always have to be moving. Like,
you can't really relax.
The only time that like I could try like the most time I'll cut out is like, all right, you're at point A, you run from point A to point B. When you got to point B, maybe you actually sat there for about 45 seconds, even if it was 15 seconds, right? And then all of a sudden someone runs over there and you're like, all right, I'm going to shoot him. And then after that, I'm like, brain, move, got to move somewhere. Or you know what I mean? Like, so you're in this weird thing, but like, if I were to just leave the whole video, it would be like, like when you start like really studying the analytics of people on YouTube, people lose attention like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I bring this back. I bring this back to the whole point of that most people who watch the videos aren't airsofters. Now there comes a certain amount of personal pride, which I feel like I relate to. I know you guys relate to, of like the whole concept of like unrealistic portrayal of airsoft games. Like, because you're like, A, you're like, it's a game, who the fuck cares? B, you're like, I go out there and I've been playing all these years myself, so I know exactly what it is, and it can't possibly be like that, or something along those lines. And so like, I try and keep that to like my I guess my, what's the word? You said it earlier.
Ethos.
Yeah, it's like I'm like, all right, I get that, so I got to stay grounded in that. But because the people that most like, I would say 90% of the viewers aren't airsofters, don't give a shit.
They have no idea. They don't care.
They don't give a shit.
Video.
Yeah, they don't care if you cut out 15 seconds between the the time you got to the piece of cover and the time you shot. So like you get this kind of cross section of like people where you're like, it seems like a lot of the people that would get upset. I understand why they get upset, or like they talk shit. It's because they take airsoft so passionately, and you're taking something where airsoft is really different than like any other industry or even sport for a matter, because it's like, think about,
it's not tailored to being a spectator sport. It's totally experiential.
Correct. That, and it's kind of like put yourself in the shoes of an airsofter. Like when you watch, like what does an airsofter do? Like I'm sure we can all relate to this Friday night experience of us sitting at home, maybe have a friend over or two, drinking a beer, and we're all just tinkering on our guns and like, spending hours doing this weird shit that like, if you were to explain what you're doing to someone else who doesn't play airsoft,
they think you're insane.
Yeah, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? So, but because of like that investment of time and like this, like when you're at work watching YouTube videos of airsoft, or a favorite of mine, scrolling eBay or Instagram gear pages for that one piece of Cry gear that I don't have, or that certain Eagle pouch that I just can't find yet, like, and just that's what our life, like we're looking from what we're doing as our job and like what's our escape. Like airsoft is an escape to a lot of people. And so when you fuck with that and you see some asshole YouTuber come on and like make a cheater video and like, from personal experience of going out to the fields that it's not like that. There's not always cheaters. I mean, there's usually at some point, in my opinion, at every game you go to, at every place, there's always, with the exception of, I would say, maybe some local fields. But if you go to national level events,
there's always going to be cheaters. It's part of airsoft.
Yeah, always people shrugging hits. This and that. It is and I get into a lot of arguments, or I feel like clash, in sort of my ethos with this is like, my goal is to realistic airsoft. So like when I see cringy moments and shit, sure, I don't like title the video airsoft cheater,
just but it's part of it.
But there's like a ton of cheat. Like a lot of people are always like, well, why don't you title it as cheater? And I had a conversation with Dutch last night about like my titles, and he was kind of telling me like I need to go more the cheater route. And I'm kind of just like, I want to stick to my guns and do what it is, because it's like airsoft cheat. I want to like airsoft cheat.
Because airsoft is more than cheaters,
right? But it's gonna happen, and like you're just gonna like. You know how it is. You just got to deal with it. Like freaking out. Like I feel like showing how I deal with it is a good example of how to deal with it, instead of like the opposite where you freak out or this. That's just like, oh,
or try to fight people and all that cringe.
Oh, this guy not call his hits. Oh, okay, maybe I hold.
I have more BBs.
I hold on LMG trigger for 2 seconds. Oh, you want to call a hit now? Very good. Okay, on to the next player. Like it's just like it's part of the game. It happens, and so I feel like to pretend that it doesn't is a bit. I don't know if ignorance is the word. I feel like it's actually, because when you have the whole airsoft cheater conversation,
it's misrepresentative.
Correct.
I think that's an interesting perspective, because I made that cheater video, not that cheater video. I made that cheater video discussion a few years ago, and I think since then, like, and I do think that your perspective is very germane too, where having that be represented. But my thing is, I don't like when it's the focus.
Correct.
Like, I think that's my issue.
Cringe. Right. No. And honestly, my opinion, I think airsoft cheater videos have totally, like, the time for airsoft cheater videos have faded. Like that is not the
it doesn't get as many clicks anymore. No, I think that a lot of people.
Like most people that are watching videos, that is not like the click drawer. I think it's transitioned into just like general idea, not kill streak, just something cool. Like interesting, exciting. Like for example, it doesn't matter if you call it a cheater video or if it's just like, some dramatic event that happens. That's kind of
like a fucking helicopter or gunship or something.
Right. Your helicopter video is still one of your most viewed videos, isn't it?
It's like it's definitely like a top 3. My most viewed video is like a video that people actually gave me a lot of crap for this, but it's called I basically made it as a troll video because I was really full disclosure. Someone made a video the day. I remember I've been working on this video for weeks, right? And in this video, it was at a game from Overwatch. It's an event series in Florida that this company called Doomsday Airsoft hosts. And honestly, they do a great job of running events. They're out in the field policing the best you can. They give you a very realistic say what you want about Bulldog, but like he gives you a very realistic approach to like what to expect. Like don't do this or you'll be kicked out kind of thing. And so like as an event host, you can't do anything about cheaters. All that you can do is kind of react to what's happening and how you handle yourself in those moments, which I'm sure you relate to, is what you should judge an event host on. I think it's more important. Does the event start on time? How is the what's it called? the response to like when you have people breaking the rules. Do you freak out, scream, or do you just calmly, discreetly handle it and you move on and you don't ruin the experience for everyone else? So anyways, long story short, I made this video. There was a shit ton of people that didn't call hits because I had got myself into this really sneaky area where there was like,
people love to not call hits when they don't know where they're coming from.
That's the nail on the head right there. It's like I got into this area. It was like an air conditioner, and it was fenced in with tall grass. And I was wearing AOR2, and I had my AOR2 LMG. And so at the bottom of this fence, there was like a little bit of like pried up, like an animal crawled in there. And so I'm sitting there. I'm laying like behind, like here's like the box. My gun is just sitting like this. Keep in mind, it is perfect.
That visual is great.
It is green camouflaged, and I'm prone, and there's a fence. And if you were looking at it, all you would see is a fence and an air conditioner unit. And then, like, you wouldn't even think people could shoot through the fence, but it was perfectly pried open. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm just shooting people left and right. And they're all, like, not calling hits and this and that. And people are freaking out. And they're, like, in the video, there was, like, I shoot this one kid, and, like, he's sitting there, and he's, like, trying to figure out where it came from. And his buddies are talking to him, and he's like, oh shit, there he is. He's behind the air conditioner unit. And I'm like thinking he's a new
I remember
player.
this video. Yeah.
I think he's a new player. And I'm like, hey, dead guys don't talk. And then like he looks right at me and then says it again. And I was like, oh, so like I had a little moment of airsoft rage. I screamed, I said it louder. Keep in mind, context, there's a helicopter flying over the entire time. So, like, it's not just like we're at your local rec field. Yeah. You're sitting there shooting the guy at the next, plywood cover, like, Garrett! It's like there's a, like...
Well, you're a distance away. Like, your Zoom like cam was the only way you can really see him in that video.
Correct, yeah, and that, too. And basically, it was just a video of that, and I threw in a bunch of cringy memes. Like, I'm a prequel memer. I'm going to put hello there memes in my videos and cringy Star Wars memes until I die. If someone, like, I get a lot of people that are like, oh, imagine using the same meme over and over. I'm like, I will use hello there until I die. Like, you would have to kill me. You will kill me before I stop that. And I don't care if anyone doesn't think it's funny because I think it's funny. My my brother, my friends, people I play Star Wars with, we think it's fun. And like, that's kind of another point is like, I'm not trying to like be funny. Like, sure, you can be like, oh, cringy, thought destroyed, like this. The whole thought destroyed thing, I was just trying to do it ironically because I saw how many cringy people were using the thought destroyed. And coming from my perspective of like what I've been through and doing this and like being around, like being an Abercrombie & Fitch model, doing all this, it kind of gave me this weird space. So I'm kind of like, like ironically doing it. And so many people thought that
so many people got mad about it that then you like want to keep
doing. Right. No. And then that's it. The minute someone says something about it, I'm just like, oh, you don't like it?
How dare you?
we intend like just to be a troll because like I'm just like it's just airsoft. Like my perspective, I'm just like we're just fucking playing airsoft, and I'm calling a bunch of fat old men thoughts who don't even know what the word means, let alone know. And I like you see like Grantham and Greg Wong using it, but I'm just like I'm in a totally like I don't like.
You're not in that like.
I'm like, hey, like we're playing dress up, like it's just to confuse and troll. Like,
yeah,
it's funny, but like again, who cares? Anyways, the video did really well, and I even the day before I posted it, I've been working on this video for like 2 weeks. It was really long because the amount of hit markers, and it was just like, it was forever. But the day before I posted it, someone I don't want to name who it was, but someone posted a video essentially calling out cheater videos and saying that they're bad for the sport. Or not even. It was like, hey, I don't make cheater videos because I think it's bad for the sport, even though I encounter cheaters in all my videos and I choose the high ground and I don't want to put the cheaters in my video because I am, like I'm above that. And I was like, I'm sitting there like, really? Like, okay. And so like I titled the video, I can't remember what I titled the video, but I put like
toxic because like I think they used the word toxic in that video. I remember I remember the fallout from this. It was kind of entertaining to watch.
I really did everything I could to be like I purposely I'm like toxic, red arrow, cheaters are lame, and then like in the parentheses toxic male behavior. And like, I just Christ. The full so not and this was the interesting because of the fallout which you're talking about. So not only did I get people that were like thinking I'm serious, like I was full SJW, like toxic men, like thought I was serious.
Well, and people thought you were like trying to make a political statement. Like people thought you were trying to like one side or the other, whereas you're just like shit posting,
and like I never like all these serious like right-wing people are like giving me shit. Like I had people comment on my video, be like, "Fuck you, you liberal asshole! I'm unsubscribing." And at the same time, I would have someone on like some liberal person being like, "You fucking troll, like you piece of shit, like blah blah blah. This is real." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, like we don't need to get in politics. I know this is like a thing, but like I'm trolling." Like,
yeah, like I'm fucking around.
I just sat there and watched the popcorn, and I was like, and then to your point though, when you kind of like, and this is what I specifically wanted to talk to you about when I was like, I know your video was 2 years old and this and that, and like, it's a different time. But like when I think cheater videos and like, I really do like, even right now, the video I'm working on right now, I have like a generic title that I'm just like Bandit Air Force gameplay, or kind of like, you know, something along the lines of, hey, like this type of behavior wants me to make me want to quit airsoft. Something along the lines of like, you know, ooh, like, and like, yes. And I'm kind of like thinking back and having conversations with my other YouTube friends and this and that. And I'm like, I'm looking back to that video specifically where up until that point, I had really just only kept it, you know, and it was only that video where I was like, you know what, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm mad. I'm just going to troll. I don't care. Like, this will be funny. The amount of money I made from that video alone before it got copyright claimed, like when you're like, so for example, I made $5,000 from that video in the first 3 months, maybe even less than that. And then someone from some third-party ad revenue company claimed it. I used a Minecraft meme, like a Minecraft meme version singing of a song, and they copyright claimed it. And because YouTube's system is so broken, there's nothing.
You can't appeal it or do anything.
The system is literally, okay, all you have to do, and this was before their recent update, which they did make things a little bit better with their recent update, although it's not perfect, but now you have to have a timestamp. Whereas before, they just claimed the whole video. Like, because of this 5-second young kids stream, like, all around our lonely face.
Yeah, because like seconds of someone else's content is enough to make
the actual video. Song though. Now I don't believe, like, it depends on how big you are and whatever. But like, it was literally not their work at all. At the very extent of it, it was a cover which you could only partially share revenue. But they claimed the whole video. I filed an appeal. I said, hey, you don't own this content. It's not your content. And all that happens is that report gets sent back to the person that originally filed the claim, and they're like, hey, are you sure you want to file this claim and steal the, like, keep in mind, we're talking, I was making $5,000 on the video at like 2 million views. I had a great CPM on it. It was doing great. And the video has now since doubled, almost tripled in views. And all of that money was taken from the copyright claim. And so I'm sitting there and I'm kind of like thinking, I'm like, but, and to long story short, what I ended up doing with that video was YouTube recently changed their policy where you have to have a timestamp. So what I did was I
appealed and put the time, or asked them for the timestamp, or
I muted the whole video, entire video. I took a massive hit because like they had filed the copyright under the old system, so like they had entire video, and even though the system was updated, they had their timestamp was approved for entire video, so they're making 100% of the revenue. And so what I did, I said, all right, I'll take the hit. It was averaging like 3,000 views still every day or so, which is not a lot in the grand scheme, but like over a year, you know, 3,000 times 365.
That's 1 million views.
That's extra, you know, depending on your CPM. In December, it could be as high as like $6 per 1,000 views. Like, so you're talking big cash. And so I said, fuck you. I muted the entire video and I filed a second appeal. And the dangerous thing with the second appeal is if that appeal, at least at the time, if you got rejected for that,
you get a strike.
You get a strike. And then if you get 3 strikes on your channel, your whole channel is deleted. So you could literally have someone fraudulently claim content that they don't own. And keep in mind, there are people out there, like this was a third-party representative.
All the risk is still the content creator. No risk to the claimant.
Because there was no accountability. And like, so I muted the whole video and I said, hey, you don't own anything. If you still want to hold the audio, I will take you to court, blah, blah, blah. Because at this point, I'm doing the math and I'm like, shit, I made 5,000 on 2 million views. What the fuck? And then I'm looking at it, it's at 4.2 and I'm like, and ad revenue only increases throughout the year.
Keep a pair of dual tubes that you could have gotten.
I'm like, dude, this is so much shit I could have done with that. I could have paid a whole semester of school. Like, you know what I mean? For me, different. I'm like, and that was all I was doing at the time. So I'm sitting here like financially, like, you know, not the perfect situation. And I'm looking back and I'm like, you know, like those motherfuckers. So you
gotta take the gamble.
But the biggest, the to bring this all together, I know we're rambling, was that the point was the sensationalized video title as cringy as you want, which I would be the first person to say, hey, this is cringe as shit. Like when people were calling me out and this and that, I'm like, duh, like what we just talked about. But the difference between that, and which I kind of was disagreeing with this, I know you probably don't even, maybe you even said it briefly.
I mean, you can also disagree with me. Like, I'm not going to get offended. We have a fucking conversation.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm saying, I think you briefly said it just rung in my ears. It was like, there's no money to be made in airsoft videos.
And I was like, different video I think I made. I think that was one where I was talking about like getting started in airsoft YouTube. And
maybe that was it.
And that in that I like kind of I made the point that like there's not money to be made in airsoft videos. And I think I think time. I think my biggest thing with that was because obviously there's money to be made like when you're at your level or Jet's level or Nav or Dutch or whatever.
Correct.
My thing that I wanted. A lot of what I say is very much tailored to like the audience I'm reaching, and the audience I was reaching at that point was people who were like going to be getting started. And for people who have less than like 50,000 subscribers, you're not making much money from airsoft videos.
True, but caveat point real quick. I would like to say I only had 50,000 subscribers at the time of publishing that video. And because, this is like the complex.
Because of the number of views it got.
Because of that, like that video, and I'll tell you one other quick story right after this. Because of that one, I was like, okay, fine. I'll put up with the cringe. I don't care. I know it's cringe, but I know it's also funny, and I'm getting enjoyment out of seeing people get butthurt about this kind of trolling thing. I'll do whatever. But that video literally changed my life. And there's other like if it wasn't for that video, I would still, who knows, right? And so now I'm able to do
you wouldn't have achieved the same level of success.
Exactly, because it's not only is it bringing in new subscribers, like I hit 100,000 subscribers like within 2 weeks after that, right? Like it went, it was like, so it literally changed my life. It might have been more like a month, but it literally changed.
I know what you mean. So I think your counterpoint to my point then, which is actually very compelling with this case study. Because the cheater video and the YouTube video thing they kind of work together, where I kind of made the point that like the clickbait is cringy, and then I said, well, there's not really any money to be made in YouTube, but what you're saying is, well, there is
that risk. If like
and sometimes taking that risk can really pay off.
It's all about it. Go ahead, sorry.
What I was gonna say is I think that you've been kind of like I'm gonna toot your horn a little bit, but you're kind of bound for success. Oh, stop it! No, but you're kind of bound for success due to the fact that you've got a very unique product. I mean, there are very few guys on YouTube whose content is shitting on boomers with a belt fed, just like an belt fed. It's just the best. I have
boomer down.
Oh, I get so much enjoyment of just watching Borthers and boomers getting torn in half by an HPA Mark 48. So I think you're kind of bound for success with that and the hello there memes. It's just been, I think it's kind of always been.
I feel like part of me is like, oh, I'm just doing like obvious things that I think would be funny, like full autoing middle-aged men that take airsoft way too seriously will never get old on camera. Like, you know what I mean? Specifically because I have I have a lot of older players that are boomers that I love and they're awesome to play with.
Oh yeah.
But like even just as a younger generation, just like even like looking at our parents and like they always do the classic thing. It's just humorous. It's a joke. And so like I don't want to offend boomers, but at the same time it's like that it's just never going to get old, because specifically with like how I got kicked off that airsoft team too from the older like I'm just kind of like I have a little bit of like behind it. But to your caveat point, like I would say I just think it doesn't matter how big you are. All it takes is one algorithm view and I'll tell you this picture, right? Dutch the Hooligan, right? You know his videos. Like from his perspective, I remember watching his content. I remember I saw it was in 2016, and then when he first came out and he did this video, I distinctly remember it was Slay in 4K. Like that was his title. And I was like, holy crap, airsoft gameplay? 4K? Like this was the right when I bought my first GoPro.
And no one was doing 4K before Dutch.
Right. This was like HPA. Like I remember, funny caveat as to why my LMG get started. I took a break from airsoft when I was in Hawaii playing football. And the summer I came back, which was summer of 2016, I went to my local field, played airsoft. I had my VFC 416 with the original date stamping, 2013. It came out before. It says H&K 416 CQB. I hadn't upgraded anything. Went out there, played. I had like a LiPo battery that didn't even really work properly. So my trigger pull was like, and there was a dude with an HPA M4 who had like the PSG-1 hand grip and a 500 millimeter barrel and a DMR. And at this local field, it was just no rules. Basically, it was full auto. And he was full autoing everyone. And I went home that day and I was like, never again. And I bought my, that's what made me buy an
your HPA engine as a fuck you to someone who kept.
But like that same week was when I saw Dutch's video, and I was like, oh my god, HPA, and like in his scope, like you know how it looks really good on camera, and the beams are like holy shit, like this is amazing. And so
great,
But to the point is, he started out doing regular, like none of his videos were really clickbaity at the start. They were like slaying 4K, airsoft at SE Village, like playing with the hooligans, because his channel originally started out as a team channel, the Hopped Up Hooligans, which most people don't know. And
I remember that.
He made, and then so in his position, right, he's a mechanical engineering student. He's just, you know, doing the normal college thing, playing airsoft on the weekends with his teammates, just like gun gamers. And he makes one video. He has this cheater, and he goes. It's like 11 o'clock at night. Right, 11 o'clock at night. You're sitting there. You're worried about what your differential equations exam is going to be tomorrow. You upload the video.
And
you sit there.
Yeah,
like you just title it a cheater video. Like, oh, I'll try this. This is kind of funny. Like because there was a cheater in that actual video.
Yeah.
You wake up the next day to your dad waking you up, and he's like, "Hey, Dush, look, your video is going viral." And overnight, your life has completely changed. The video
because now you've started making money. You've got a lot of subscribers, and it can really incentivize you to be like, "Well, holy shit! Like this is what gave me this big break."
If all you know, literally overnight, you went from having like 10,000 subscribers to like a 4 million view video in one day. Like we're talking, this was like pre-YouTube cracking down on anything related with guns kind of content.
Yeah,
so like full algorithm grab, yes. And overnight, now you have 100,000 subscribers, and you're a platform, right? So literally all that happened was you posted a video, you went to sleep, and now next thing you know, your life's changed. And so if that was all that you knew, and like that was like,
of course you're gonna make cheater videos and shit.
I can't blame him. He's getting his grind on and he's making money from it. How can you blame him? You know?
It's like... you know what's interesting? I haven't heard it explained that way. Like that is not a way that I've heard that mentioned and explained. So like that actually is a very good perspective, because like from my perspective, I've always just been like, well, this is fucking cringe, and I wouldn't want to do this. And like I look at this, I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Like
super cringe.
Yeah. But then like you explain it to that way, and obviously like there's always a degree of someone's experience informing their actions. And when you've got that fucking experience, you're gonna look at me and be like, well, you might feel differently if you all of a sudden were making thousands of dollars per video.
And it's not just like, it's like a huge, like, for example, this making over 6 figures just posting airsoft videos, and he's not even posting videos every week, like once a month. I think I'll make a video. Like I give him shit about this all the time because I know he's very talented and he's really smart. You know, he's got the engineering brain. Like he's very like good at what he does. And I'm like, let's do this, like use your talent to the best of your abilities. And if anything, I'm just a voice in his ear of like, hey, like
do more.
Let cheater, like
let the cheater thing die.
Like your content speaks for yourself. Like you don't, he doesn't need to do that. And
I think that's true too. He's got the subscriber base now that like that type of thing isn't really going to be as rewarding anymore.
But I understand, and even though it's not popular anymore, but I look at that and I'm like, I see a lot of people talk shit about him, and as his friend, I'm like, even from my perspective, kind of looking at it like, oh, cheater. Like I'm just like, if you realize the route that it took to get there, like I feel like you'd almost have some form of PTSD about like, oh God, I gotta, like your life literally changed. You went from normal person to now you have millions of followers, and that's an exaggeration.
I get what you're saying though. Like the point stands.
Yeah, no, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's like, and the point, and also caveat point to that is, it doesn't matter how small you are. All it takes is literally one algorithm grab. You could have 10,000 subscribers, 500 subscribers. Literally, if you make one good video, all of a sudden, boom. Now, maintaining that long-term success seems to be the challenge, and this is a lot of it relates. I see a very good comparison to sports, because it reminds me of like the athlete, or even me myself, where I would play like I finally get my shot. You get the starting position. You play amazing, right? All of a sudden, all this drama, like, holy crap, all this attention. And then you go out after that and you shit the bed. And, like, you don't live up to that same level every time. And it's like with that airsoft thing, it's kind of the same mindset of where you're just like, you know,
I gotta keep doing that thing that made everyone love me in the first place. There's a lot of pressure to perform.
Right. You're just like, well, this was working. Why not just keep doing it? And it's just, it's tough to see people talk crap about it because, like, I don't want to go around wasting my time just always butting in. But it's like, I would very much encourage someone that, like, anyone can do it. Like, anytime I talk to anyone, I'm like, oh, dude, you got, like, because I feel like my brain speaks YouTube now. Like, I'm just so immersed. And, like, I spend so much time worrying about, like, trivial details of, like, capitalization of certain letters and what are my which hashtags should I put first, and should the arrow be at this angle or should it be at this angle? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so much effort on what most people would think trivial things. And you look at, like, PewDiePie, and he'll just upload a video of, like, his face being like, and, like, that. So that's the polar opposite of spectrum.
Views,
yeah, and it's like, you know, you can get caught up in that, but I would say, like, no matter what your hobby is, everyone is into something, right? I don't care if it's cooking, if it's, you know, airsoft just happens to be my nerdy hobby thing. I would encourage anyone, if they have any aspiration, like, if you don't have aspirations, who cares? But if you have, like, some aspiration of, like, even just making new friends, start making, like, just get started. It's going to be shitty at first. The only way you get from point A to point B is by experience and getting better. Like I was saying earlier, you, like, the checking of the ego, the realizing that your content's not good. Like, hey, or not even not good. You're just like, okay, this part's good, but these part, like, maybe my audio is really shitty, or maybe I need to make more exciting, or maybe I should just be more myself and stop trying to be someone else. Like, everyone, like, likes you as a person for who you are. Like, there's a reason you are the way you are. I don't mean to get philosophical and, like, and cliche and influencer, like, I'm my fed teeth, but, like, Eric is Eric because Eric does what you like to do. Like, you're just being yourself. People like you because you are funny. You're just yourself. You drink beer. You have deep voice.
Thank you.
Like,
wow. I'm
but
getting
if
a lot of compliments here.
You tried to be average, that would be a little
Stop
weird.
feeding his ego. He's going to carry this for weeks.
Part of it is, too, you really do have to believe, like, these are personal experiences. Like, when I got started, I would say it's almost rougher at the bottom. Like, there is, like, a rut that you have to climb over and get out of. Like, at the bottom, there is
stop being convinced everyone hates you.
There's a shit ton of people that try and put you down, and there's going to be a ton of people, and it's honestly more prevalent and more relevant at the bottom, because maybe you can remember from when you started, like, back when you first posted videos, you get like 10 comments on your video when you first posted. You're like, shit, this is doing pretty good. But, like, the ratio of negative to positive is different, because it's like there's always some asshole on the internet that's going to be like, oh, this is trash, like, you know, this sucks. Maybe, but you got to kind of look at that and be like, maybe it is. But, like, at the same time, you just got to believe in yourself, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to tell you that you're, like, say bad things about you. And I think getting through that phase, and then once you get through that, you start feeling the overwhelming positive, and you're like, you get the messages, and you get the people that are like, want to hang out and be friends with you, and, like, you find out that you're similar to all these other people. That is, like, the redeeming part of it. But, like, in the beginning, I still, like, even just over a year ago, I just remember sitting there and just being like, what the fuck? What is the point of this? Like, all these negative people, like, I'm not making money at this point. You're not going to make money unless you start bringing in thousands and thousands of views. Like, I'm just like, what's the point? And then boom, randomly, it was like life change. So, and then all of a sudden, all this overwhelmingly positive, like, making friends with other people that love LMGs. Like, this is great. Like, making friends with more Star Wars friends. Like, there's a ton of people that watch my videos just because they're prequel me. Like, I watch their content, and it's just like, we're friends because of that.
I've seen your content a couple times on r/prequel memes on Reddit. So yeah.
Yeah. See, like, that's, I'm like, that wouldn't have happened if I just kind of listened to all the negative people that were like, oh, you stupid cringy YouTuber. Imagine using Thought Destroyed unironically. And I'm like, it is
ironic, but you
don't
get it.
It's all right.
Well, and I think there's a real aspect to it with making anything. Like, you kind of have to just make what you want to make. Like, obviously, you have to check your ego, and you have to take feedback and, like, your quality and everything. But like you're saying, you really have to be yourself. You have to make what you want to make. Like, and you might not even have like the same goals for like a lot of what you do as like what a lot of other people do. Like maybe you don't care about, chasing sponsorship. Maybe you just want to like make shit posts that your friends enjoy.
Maybe I don't care about people thinking I look cool in my, like, as an operator, but I just care about like the collecting the gear. Like there's a ton of things like that. And that's what I'm getting at. I'm just like, it is the speed bump that I was talking about, the hurdle that you have to get over. It is such a pain in the ass at the start, unless maybe random. But even then, you really have to be doing what you want to do. Like the classic, like, hey, I'm going to be like, if I had $1 for every time I had someone like, hey, I want to be a YouTuber, I'm going to be a YouTuber, and like buys GoPro, goes out the field, realizes it's fucking nothing like they've seen or thought it was, and makes 1 or 2 videos, doesn't see initial success, and then they get discouraged and then quit. Right. Oh, yeah. And so my thing is like, if that's the case, like you either really like, so a lot of times it's doing something that maybe you're not actually that into. Like for me, it's like, I love airsoft. Like I love LMG. So whether like 100,000 people or 100 people were watching my videos, I was enjoying it because I was watching my videos, and I could show it to my friend and send it to him on, over text and be like, hey, remember last weekend when we played and I shot you in the face? Like that. So like my motivation was not like, oh, I want to be big YouTuber. It was like, I love airsoft. I'm just making content that I love. And like, if you don't have that, I don't ever see you becoming successful, because people can tell. And 2, it's like the hurdle, like you're not crossing that hurdle of misery of not making any money from YouTube, not like, the negative comments, all the shit I talked about, without having some other source of your, like, why you're doing it, motivation. Like,
like you have to be motivated. Yeah. And that's the crazy thing, like that. I mean, in terms of, content, like obviously our numbers are very different. Our style is very different. And like one of the things that always, it's so funny, like hearing you talk so much now. Cause like I said, you don't usually talk this much in your videos.
I'm shy, okay.
That's why we've just been like letting you go, because I'm like, holy fuck, Alfonse is going off. Let's keep this rolling.
What have I done?
But what I really like is, the thing is with my content, like I look at, and this is something that I think is germane to a point you made, where if someone buys a GoPro and goes out to the field and it's not like what they were expecting and they don't like it because it's not getting them success, I think a very relevant thing to that is, well, if you don't enjoy doing something like the way you've seen it done before, do your own thing.
No, and maybe that's exactly it. And I feel sad when I see people do those, because like of like my experience has changed my opinion on it, but like I'm like, I just feel personally like involved because I've been there, and I'm like, just keep doing it. Like, I think it's almost like that meme, or not. It's not even a meme, but you see like people in like make super motivational Gary V kind of share posts. Where it's like the like road to success, and then like there's the classic like you're mining, and it's like the person who gave up was like 1 inch away from the gold, and like from the other person. Diamonds. Yes, like that. And like, as cringy and cliche as those are, I'm like, that's kind of like, sometimes I'm just like, all you need to do, like, people genuinely don't believe in themselves, or like they're afraid of the negative feedback. And like, to some people, you never know, like how, and
the other thing I was saying is some people also pick the wrong path. Like, they try to just, they try to just do like the thing that doesn't work for what they want. Like they're like, I don't like making gameplay videos generally. Like I'm kind of experimenting with it now, not very well, but I
watched your gameplay. I was excited. I was like, holy fuck, this is gameplay.
I saw your comment. I'm like, oh shit, all right, cool.
As I'm watching it, I like everything I talked about. I feel like I was like, in my head, I'm like, yep, this is Eric. He's giving you the realistic experience here. He's trying to show you that it is not just run out of spawn and full auto 100 boomers. And like, I'm like, but I feel like that's important though. And, I think you should keep doing gameplays in addition, because like, honestly, I think you as a person are entertaining. Like everyone already likes you for who you are. You're just showing more of that. And I'm on the opposite side of that, where like, it's like, once you get into a rhythm, you're like, just keep doing it. We'll just like, this is success. Let's replicate it. Whereas like, if anything, I'm kind of afraid to make the newer content, because I'm afraid to like lose I'm like potentially afraid that maybe they won't do as good at first, and like my view count will go down, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, I won't make as much money per 1,000 views, and then sponsors won't want to do all this. Like, I'll do a sponsored ad if it was like play Game of Thrones app or something that I think is cool, and they're paying a shit ton of money, and I'll do a skit where I show that like it's an ironic like me and my airsoft gear doing something stupid, so you know that it's like I'm not actually being like, hey guys, you should buy this app. Like, it's
I love this thing totally unironically,
right. If
and I'm just doing this out of the goodness of my heart.
Shadow Legends commercial, I'm sure it would be fine. Yeah.
Like you sitting in my chair being like, hello gamers, have you heard of Raid Shadow Legends? And it's like me laying in my bed with like LMGs, and I'm just like, I'm a gamer. I play this.
You've got the beard on with dual tubes and shit.
Yeah. I'm like, so something like that. But it's just, I'm kind of almost afraid of doing that because, and now that I'm talking about it, this is like anything. It's like once you say it, it sounds stupid, and people are like, why the fuck are you afraid? Because I already have so much support from people like that I was talking about that message me and this and that. I think I've been getting. I was
gonna say, like, it sounds like you're the way you're talking about it sounds like you're pretty fucking motivated. So like,
I'm very motivated.
From my own perspective, like just listening to you talk about it, I'm like, fuck yeah, like this sounds like something you want to do. So like, just fucking do it.
That's basically where I'm at.
If you're worried about losing people and like having them reject the new content, just do it in addition to your usual content as opposed to replacing anything.
That's my strategy. Is like, I'm even ready to branch out and do 3 separate channels, like, you know, a gaming and a fitness. Okay. That way I can just not feel guilty about posting like, you know, oh, today's workout video. And obviously everything's going to be related to airsoft in some way, because let's be honest, I'm an airsofter. And like, as an airsofter, like at every point in the day, at some point you're like, you look at something and like, you're like, oh, that would be cool playing airsoft there. Like, like, you know what I mean? So it's like relatable, but it's intersectional with like, you know, the airsofter that wants to lose a little bit of weight, or the young kid that's been picked on in school and just doesn't know or have a family around him that teaches him what he wants to know about them. I'm like, I've been there. Here, boom.
Well, and I think you're uniquely positioned to be an entry point for a lot of people, because a lot of people who are like trying to get started in the fitness industry, like you said, it's very intimidating when you're first getting into it because there's so much bullshit. Like there's so much, and there's so much bullshit. That's my real motivation
for wanting to do the fitness too. Is because like, I just get so pissed off, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm ready. Like, I'd say my there's a whole nother topic of airsoft that we haven't even talked about, where with dealing with event promoters other than Jet and Milson West, that like it just takes you to this toxic place of airsoft that I don't want any part of, and people trying to manipulate you and use you and this and that, and it's like that is like dealing with
that's super bad in fucking airsoft.
I guess it'd be like saying being friends with John Liu and Josh Warren in the same sentence. It's like, woo, like there's just different levels
a lot of complication
things going on, and like it's like, but because my job right now is to make entertaining airsoft videos, it puts me in the weird position that maybe John is hosting an event at a cool place, and there's going to be a lot of boomers that I could full auto, which right up my alley, you know. It's like, like maybe there's a brutal history between my friend Josh and John, and it's like, you gotta it's like
at a certain point you almost have to treat it like coworkers.
It's like I'm treating it like a business, where I'm like, hey, I haven't personally had a problem with you, even though you're trying to pry in, and like there's some things that piss me off, and we could go into stories. I'm like, does that outweigh the potential benefit? Like, for example, this last summer, I remember very specifically, this was like a turning point, where I was going to go to this Lion Claws event. Everyone and their brother told me, no, do not go to this event. This is terrible, blah, 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 blah. I drove 13 hours by myself. No one would go with me. Like, literally no one. They were like, we're not going to a fucking Lion Claws game. And I was like, oh, this place is an abandoned factory. It looks cool. Like, I'll just go and play. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if my goal is to just make videos and I'm having fun, like, no matter how cringe it is, like, I'm sitting there as the troll. I'm like,
a bad day of airsoft is better than a good day at the office, right? So
that too. And I'm and so I'm sitting here, and you knowing me, I'm like basking in the cringe. I'm like, oh, this is spicy. Like, I genuinely am entertained by it, like in a way that doesn't make me mad. So like, if you're gonna be cringy, like, I'm sitting here like, yes, good, this is good stuff. But like, anyways, I went there. The video hit 1.5 million and was like another, in the first week, and it was a big bump. And so like, because I was willing to like, all right, let's take all this shit, let's put it aside, yeah, it's cringe. Yeah, they did this with Josh Warren and this and that, and everyone is giving me shit for this. But at the end of the day, it's like, I got to take care of myself. And does this fall in line with my goal, which is to make right now is to make good airsoft videos for the channel like that and have fun. It's mostly have fun, but like, will this be fun? Yes. Will it be good for the channel? Yes. Is it possible and financially responsible for me to do? Yes. Okay. Do I have to put up with that? Sure. Okay. And take some incoming flack. But it's like that.
But it's worth it in the end. And ultimately, like, it doesn't really hurt you in any way.
No, it's just if anything, and it's funny, when I was at a Third Coast event, which I like going to Third Coast events because they're at cool. Same thing as Lion Claws, except I would say Third Coast does a lot better job of like in-game policing. Like I think Sal does a really good job of like they're not hiring like paintball. I
haven't been to a Third Coast game, and I feel really bad about it because I keep meaning to.
And I went to a event down in EMR, and it was actually really good. I had a good time.
Third Coast game?
Yeah, I think it was Nights
I don't
Third Coast?
No, that's Otherworld Milsim.
Otherworld, okay, yeah.
Yeah, totally different guys.
I would describe a Third Coast like, so it really depends on your perspective. My perspective, I'm just like, hey, they like the people that are on the Third Coast staff, you could call them cringe, whatever. Like I see the negative stuff, and I hear my friends that are like, oh, we're not going to this event, like blah blah blah, like Third Coast. Imagine having to play. Like essentially, it comes down to like maybe the players, like a Milsim West guy is not gonna maybe want to go to Third Coast game because of the differences in the game.
Yeah.
When I look at it, I'm like I look at it as a very well-run event at a cool place. Like I said, the people that are reffing the games are very knowledgeable in airsoft. They've seen it all. They're not the hotheads. Like they sit there. They make sure everyone's following the rules. They have they're trying to have tangible objectives, and it's not $200. It's usually $125. And
so you're getting a different experience, but that doesn't make it any worse. The thing is, so many people are so tied into their idea of exactly what they want out of a game, their idea of exactly what all this should be, and they can't set that aside to give any validity to anything different.
And I think I understand. Yeah, and
I get that. Like, obviously, when airsoft's an expensive game, and we're all taking our time out to go play. So if you really want to get what you want out of a game, obviously you might be like, well, I don't want to go to a game that's not offering the experience I want, but the experience you want is, well, I want to go make cool videos at an enjoyable game, and I don't really care about all the minutia so much.
Right. I'm just like, hey, this is at a cool place. The people running the event, it's well run. The rules are the right way. They show love for support weapons. It's checking all the boxes. The only thing that I would say negative is like, I'd say at Third Coast events, maybe there's not a large portion, but of people that might like not like my content or have a different view of airsoft than I do. I would say attend those events too, and so it's kind of like there's a little. I have to just deal with incoming fire, and also you kind of got to deal with now because I feel like how the sort of like there's only so many YouTubers like that do airsoft, right?
Yep.
Like you count how many there are, like specifically in the country in the US, and you look at that and like how many of those people actually go to all these events, right? So what it becomes is like all these event hosts wanting to market their company, and like you get into this territory of like we'll talk like I'll just say John Liu, Josh Warren drama of like hosting events at similar AOs leads to different behavior, like, you know what I mean? Like this personal attack, and then all of a sudden all this shit gets slung across the room, and like, and you understand.
People want to drag you into it because you make videos about it.
Well, it's just like, it almost becomes like, well, why are you going to this person's event? And I'm like, because I like want to play airsoft. It's a cool place. And now it's even like, oh, they're going to pay for my travel, or they're going to pay me to be there. Like, I'm like, sign me up. Like, I'm an airsoft. They're like, you're gonna pay me to play airsoft.
You're gonna pay me to go play airsoft.
That's all it takes.
With the return on investment on my video. But like the thing that like most people maybe don't see about it, in which I understand and don't want to go like, I don't want to have some full out war with like event hosts and this and that, because like I understand how much money is being slung behind the scenes, and so like it's understandable that when you deal with certain things like that, and taking into account the gravity of the situation with like what negative press can deal with in a specific niche market that I have a large audience in that also happens to be potentially their customer base, the things get sort of hairy and like they don't, you know, like people don't want cheater videos and this, but like what I would say to them, and I just don't think they understand that like most viewers are not airsofters, first off.
Yep.
I would say more, if you were going to take percentages of people, right? I would say more airsofters that go to these events actually don't watch like airsoft videos, as opposed to the percentage of people that watch the airsoft videos that aren't airsofters. Like people who watch airsoft videos, like we can match them up like sample population size, exact same sample number.
It's a Venn diagram.
It's like just poof over here. Yep. People that don't watch
people that don't watch airsoft videos
don't even
but play
own an airsoft gun. Yeah. Which is like the people, like they're worried about negative financial impact, which part of me is like, well, if you run a shitty event, like speaks for itself. Don't kill the messenger for like if I paid
kind of speaks for itself as opposed to
I'm never gonna like maliciously attack. And this is what I was talking about with John Luke, because he was like, so there was a whole bunch of drama even when I went to the first game. I was like, look, man, like I get it. A lot of shit's been slung. Like I just want to play airsoft. Like if just I'm not gonna do you wrong. Like I'm not gonna
go out and like try to slander your company. I'm just like, representing the experience.
Like if I have a shitty experience, sure, I'll make a funny video about it. But like I'm not gonna willingly, unless you really like attack me, and even then I would feel dirty. Like I don't want to like personally attack someone, because I need to realize the privilege that I have where like my audience actually can affect some. Like, you know, you're dealing with large numbers of people. Like be aware.
You have a responsibility with a platform.
Right. You have more responsibility added. And so I'm kind of like, so it's always this line of like, how far do I go? But then you're always like, well, they don't pay me. So why, you know what I mean? And like,
so who cares?
People, like, for example, BB sponsorship, right? We offer BB sponsorship,
fun
right?
times.
Were they bio BBs by chance?
I don't even care about that. Elite Force BBs.
Eric understands the meme.
BLS BBs. Like, it doesn't matter.
Everyone understands them.
Both, you want to know what I actually did, and I'm going to drop a hot one soon. Maybe in the. So
I bet. No, I bet we have the same conclusions. I did a lot of research on biodegradability and BBs, and there's a reason I didn't make a video taking sides, because it's kind of like everyone pointing the finger, but all of their shit stinks.
Correct.
No one's
it's not like
BBs aren't biodegradable. Doesn't matter what the fuck they're made out of.
Correct. It's like it doesn't like basically what I did was I took bottles of both brands. Immediately when I saw this happening, I went out, made a little garden area in my backyard, and I strategically placed test points of batches of BBs and labeled them, and like in under dirt, not under dirt, in water. Yeah. And like so and I'm gonna keep going, and I bet any money that they're gonna be literally the same in terms of like actual biodegradability, because as an engineer, and taking chemistry and Gen Chem 2 and Orgo, it's like you do lab tests, you see how like the conditions on lab tests are
not representative of
representative of real life. It's a controlled environment, and like just because
the materials are usually powderized.
Correct. And in the case of as much as I'm like kind of not involved in this at the same time, like like for example, when I looked at the results of the BB biodegradability of the high power airsoft BBs, if you look at which BB they chose to use, I'm like, of all the BBs that they make, there's going to be one BB where maybe, let's say, they skirt a couple corners on the biodegradability just to generate.
You mean the rock, the bio-neutral ceramic ball bearing?
Right. I'm like, okay, so if you're going to compare a 2.8 gram BB or a 3.2 gram, Elite Force BBs are good. I still use them because they send them to me. They're BLS. I would buy BLS. Not like the Elite Force guys have been nice to me, but also I'm at the same time, I'm like, let's take an analytical science approach to this and see that, well, you're comparing something with a much, much, much high, double the mass.
Yeah.
Like the biodegradable consistency of, if you were to compare 3.2s to 3.2s, which is what I tested, not 4.8s to 3.2s, I'm like you could have told, I would not be surprised if you were like, hey, yeah, the 4.8 gram BBs we're making are slightly not 100% biodegradable within 1 year. Because I know there was a gray area where you're dealing with like.
Yeah, there's always. Well, and the thing is, it's really like, that whole fight to me, like I said, it was kind of like, all right, whatever. This is like I definitely did my research. Like I did a lot of research on this because I was curious more to any point, but at the same time it was a dumb fight.
I'd say both sides massively just like pulled out a shotgun, double barrel 12 gauge, and shot themselves in the foot. Like,
yeah, it was a really cringy exchange all around. Elite Force didn't handle it very well. HPA didn't handle it very well.
Literally sinking your own ship. It's like you could have like, but we don't even need to go down that road. But anyways,
no.
Getting down with the BBs was like, and this is an example of like once you start dealing with YouTube and this and that, it's like,
and once you have a platform, it becomes complicated.
Job. And like, for example, so I did this video with this YouTuber named Houston Jones, right?
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, Houston, good buddy of mine. He lives in Michigan. Cool dude, great guy. He's funny as shit. He like a lot of people maybe will say he's cringe.
Shot with airsoft guns, it seems.
Yes, and like I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, like I see you doing the airsoft stuff and I see a lot of incoming flack from the airsoft community about you, mainly like, hey, not wearing iPro or like maybe using like the over centralized titles, not centralized, exaggerated sensationalized with not actually that good of an airsoft gun. Like, wow, you got full autoed with a minigun with using 0.12 gram BBs at 80 p. Like, not something that an airsofter would be like.
Yeah.
But to the general public who's not an airsofter, they're like,
yeah, they're like, oh, well, that's entertaining.
I was like, hey, I know a lot about airsoft. I'll help you out and I'll make sure we do this right so that like, you get support from these people. They'll want to watch it. Like basically just wearing iPro. And I was like, what would suck to get shot with? Tag rounds. Like, let's do it. No one would be stupid enough to let me shoot them with a tag round from 5 feet away. Like,
except for Houston.
Except for Houston. God bless him, man. But no.
And
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to like say we've been going for like 2 hours, so wrap up. Yeah, maybe we should wrap up this story and then.
All right, I'll wrap up this story. Sorry, holy shit. Yeah, my bad.
Okay. No, it's all good, dude. Like I said, you just been going. I'm like, all right, let's fucking keep it rolling.
Okay, to wrap up this short story, I think there's a good point that like anyone who's concerned in any of this is it's just an experience that I feel like people should know. But basically, Houston Jones, guy from HPA, sends me BBs. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna try and pitch this. We're gonna do this video, like trying to basically help the people that on my end that like help me out get involved in the video for a shout out. Like Airsoft Junkies, they sold us the tag rounds. They gave us a slight discount. We still paid for them. But like, I got Houston to give them a shout out in the video. And now this is the difference where like me, I'm little YouTuber, right? Just under 200K. Meh. Houston, 1.1 million YouTuber, much larger. Money behind the scenes to do advertising, much more expensive, right? So in this video, he already has a paid sponsor for the video. I think it was like the Ridge wallet. So we're talking thousands of dollars, right? And on top of that, he has an editor who edits his video. So this isn't my video. This isn't like he's not even editing it. And he doesn't know anything about airsoft. And he gave Airsoft Junkies a really good shout out in the video, like showed the website, like blah, blah, blah. Like I was like, wow, that's a good shout out. And then because we were shooting BBs in water, I wanted to, which now actually I'm kind of glad we didn't do this because with all the BB controversy, it would have been funny.
Yeah.
We shot this scene where I was like, hey, don't worry. I know we're shooting BBs in water, but these BBs are actually biodegradable. They're approved by the EPA because that's what it says in the bottle and this and that. And like, we shot that like disclaimer shot and I like, we had like a sample, like plugged the bottle, showed the brand, in a non-cringy educational way to save Houston's butt. Cause I was like, we're shooting BBs in water. There's going to be people that are going to be like, kill the fish. Like, and so we shot that, did the thing. And keep in mind, the only BBs we used in the video was one bottle of 2 5-gram BBs, which retails for what? Between $10 and $20. Okay. Yeah. And after the video happened, Houston's editor just didn't put it in the video. Like I asked him about his explanation was like, hey,
no one's going to get it.
Their normal videos are like between 10 and 12 minutes. This video with all the shit we did was like already at 17 minutes. And he was like, we got to cut down time. So he just didn't put it in there. And I remember the next weekend I got a phone call and just all pissed off. And I'm dealing with this drama of like, oh, why didn't you plug the blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
because I don't have control at this point.
First off, I don't have control. Second off, stop being cheap. You don't pay me. You send us bottles. And third off, literally the person in the video that was sponsored was paying close to, between he never told me the amount, but I'm assuming between $5,000 and $10,000 for the 30-second shout out. And I'm like, and on top of that, we gave Airsoft Junkies a free shout out because we paid for it. And I'm like, you're gonna get mad that they didn't give a third shout out and a sponsored for $15 of the product. I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, it's just not worth the frustration and the phone calls while I'm trying to do something else out at an airsoft event. Like, oh God, I just blah 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 blah. I'm just like, at that point, I was just like, it's not worth it, man. Like, I'll pay for my own BBs. Yeah, I'll probably go through like $200 in BBs a week.
Eating your LMG .4s.
Well, that's the other thing. To finish this up, the other thing that's not like ideal is when you have a sponsorship. Obviously, said sponsor is going to want to push what they're trying to sell, not what is what you want to use. Like, for example, profit margins on 4.0 gram BBs and 3.6 gram BBs and 4.5s are actually the most expensive to manufacture because they take the most physical product, as opposed to the cheaper weights like 3.2 where you hit that
much better
spot
margin.
in the curve. Margins, you're using 3.2s, not 4.0s, and so that directly clashed with my like ethos of like, and I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this. I'll just pay for my own because I know that with my HPA jewel creeping LMG, which is, we could just have a whole conversation on the differences between AAG and HPA, but
that might be another podcast.
Oh yeah, that might be another podcast. But like the heavyweights, I'm like, you're an idiot for not taking it. Well, not an idiot. That's a bit strong, but like, you cannot refute the evidence of the superior performance in the heavier weights at an additional cost. But for me, in the unique circumstance that I'm at, and how picky I am about my airsoft, because
well, you want it to be perfect because at this point, it's your equipment for your job.
Correct. And I'm just like picky about like, I want to shoot, like I love building guns, like that's my thing. Like I'm a techie nerd, which I want to do teching videos too, which is, I'm kind of like another thing I've been afraid to expand on. Like, but long story short, like, I'm just like, so
it's a lot of complications.
It's just like, I see what people are saying, and I'm just like, I see what people are trying to sell, and I'm like, I don't want to be part of that. And so I would warn anyone that has grand aspirations of trying to give you a sponsored player. You don't want to be a sponsored player. Actually, you want to be a free player.
It introduces a lot of complications.
Because you're a slave at that point. Like, unless the only sponsors you want are a mutual, like, hey, this is like, if you're just like, hey, I want an MP5, and like the company has a product that like you like with me all the time. I'm not going to demand to be paid for that. I'm going to be like, absolutely, please send that to me. I'll pay for it. Versus someone who's trying to get you to like the old bait and switch and like take advantage of the airsofter that doesn't necessarily know their market value, or like with the event host, to like keep in mind how much event money's coming in. Like, if you're selling $100 tickets, which is cheaper than most of them are selling,
and there's 500 people going,
I say 400. That's $40,000. Do the math. Very limited staff. Doesn't cost a lot of marketing because you're doing it yourself usually. And the event, based on the AO, the price is going to range from not a lot to, there's some where they're astronomically high. But like, for the most part, you're the amount of cash they're bringing in versus like what you're actually bringing them to the table is like, you're getting used like a bandit. And so that's my thing, is like, once I became aware of that, I'm like, and I see other people, I'm like, just be aware, like, know your worth. Don't fall for the like, hey, I'll just accept this thing that comes at this cost of selling out and then bullshitting my opinion. If it's somebody that's just like, hey, use this is cool, like, absolutely. But a lot of them are like, I don't know if it's like,
you should never have to misrepresent anything. You should never have to lie,
like,
and you should never do anything you don't want to do.
Airsofter, free stuff, yes, but it's not.
Yeah.
It comes with cost, and that's what
everything comes with a price.
The cost,
and if you're willing,
attached to it.
the price. What's the Thanos meme?
Oh, it's
a small price.
What did it cost?
Everything. If you're willing to pay everything, then so be it. But if not, watch out. So that'd be the closing statement, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
That was a hell of a rant there, Alfonse.
Yeah.
Not angry.
You're Alfonse.
Great. No, I love this. This is fucking great.
This has been awesome.
I like my Star
I'm just gonna take a few questions. Yeah, let's all represent our T-shirts, because someone asked me if this was a Signs of the Swarm tee, and it fucking is.
I saw this.
This is their
EG, baby.
Hawaii.
Yeah, this is their Disfigurement of Existence album cover tee. So go rep the boys, Signs of the Swarm. Their new album is fucking great too. Vital Deprivation.
This is a gamer energy supplements hoodie.
Do you like August Burns Red?
I do like August Burns Red. Actually.
You don't have to like love them, but they're a metal band, new metal band.
Yeah,
like,
no. I actually August Burns Red was like really formative to me. Like they were one of the first big metalcore bands I got into, which like really fed me into the brutal shit. Right. So like fucking Leveler and Constellations were my shit in college.
No, but we won't tangent because we got to get to the questions. But Jake, the lead singer,
he plays with Grimnir Tactical.
Yeah, loves airsoft, and he invited me out to a concert the other week and hung out. And I'm just gonna say we should all play airsoft together sometime. I think it'd be great.
I'm
nicest guy, literally nicest guy in the world. And Aaron, the tech from Airsoft Junkies.
Yeah, he's in Void Eater. He's the drummer for Void Eater. Right, I have one of their shirts. Fuck, I should have worn my Void Eater shirt. Damn it.
Yeah, no, and I want to.
Right now.
I'm gonna try and get him to. Oh boy, sorry, I just got messages. I want to invite him out to try and get him to come to the Third Coast game.
That'd be fucking sick.
That got rescheduled at GTI, so I don't know. We'll talk about that. Maybe that's something we can play together sometime. But anyway, all right, go ahead with questions.
Yeah, so a couple of questions. Okay. One of the questions was thoughts on skydiving into an airsoft op. This has been quite a discussion in the comments. I've been watching it.
I'm already working on it. I want to make. Yeah, well, okay. It would have to be.
I would say it would be cool, but there are a lot of limitations that would probably get in the way. Would it be cool? Yeah. Would most people probably be too scared to take advantage of it? And would most insurance companies probably not really want to deal with it?
Here's the bog standard.
That's the real problem is the legalities.
There's a reason why Army Airborne School takes 21 fucking days to do. Because it's very specific what you have to do when you jump out of a fucking plane. And even still, the amount of like injuries and airborne
things that
units
can go wrong.
Well, amount of things that can go wrong and injuries and airborne units compared to like regular Army is fucking astronomical. It's ridiculous.
And absolutely.
And I would also say, unfortunately, I think a lot of the airsofters who would be interested in it would really need some pretty serious like, because when you go skydiving, like if you go skydiving, there's a lot of instruction that goes into that, and you would need to get the airsofters to commit to having someone be trained on
already skydive certified. Not to mention the fact that one thing people don't really realize is that you're not jumping out in like a plate carrier and a helmet and you've got a nice little backpack on. No, when you jump out of a fucking like when you do an airborne jump, you've got 80 pounds of gear and on your waist. You've got your rifle, you got your helmet, you got your plate carrier, and then once you hit like 20 feet off the ground, you have to lower all that shit. Otherwise, when it hits the ground, it's just gonna fuck your shit up.
Yeah. Plus, don't you need like a buddy and stuff to go with you? Like you wouldn't be able to just go. Like, don't you have to have like some kind of instructor like strapped to you for something like this?
Well, I mean, if you're not qualified, but you're also gonna want a jump master. You're gonna want somebody who's packed like a parachute rigger. You're gonna want the amount of logistics that would go into that would be fucking ridiculous, and it's just
it would be super cool. I think there are some barriers that make it unlikely, but if someone more knowledgeable on skydiving, because the Scott Rowan guy is a skydiving coach, if you've got the knowledge, like reach out to some event promoters and see if they're interested in it, because if you can like get them interested in it, maybe, but the problem is they're not going to allow like one person one off to skydive in probably, because like I don't know how they would build that into the game.
So if you want a number of people doing it, you'd need it to be static line as opposed to being free fall, and that's a whole other level of shit that you'd have to do. But go ahead, Alfonse.
No, so okay, I guess I probably jumped the gun when I got really excited about it, but I feel like I'm in a very unique circumstance with unique people that I know that I could maybe make it happen in a weird way that might not be the way that everyone wants it to happen. But essentially, my thought process was I have a cousin who's huge into skydiving. He's a skydiving instructor, works at a skydiving field part-time, and I was basically going to try and do something like I've been skydiving like 3 or 4 times. I'm not certified. I just always tandem jumped. But like I was thinking about doing something along the lines because he hit me up and was like, hey, I showed my boss your YouTube videos. Like, let's do this, that. So I was thinking of some way that I could set up my own airsoft game strategically at a place where all the factors around it. Correct. All the boxes were checked of like, it's a safe zone to jump. The airspace is reserved, like all the boxes, like you get this. And I would be tandem jumping. And on top of it, I would be like doing it as some sort of thing where like the people that are experts in the skydiving, I gave them cameras and we basically like skydived into a place and then had an airsoft game at that place, kind of thing. But
That
there
would
was
be cool.
one of my friends, he works for Haley Strategic actually. He was talking about trying to like, he's a huge skydiver, former Navy guy, and was trying to like figure out how to skydive into an airsoft game at Copperhead because it's like such an open area and like and he was saying that they did training there before or some shit like that. And so like he was trying to convince Bo to let him do that or something. So there's a possibility for it to happen, but like as everyone said,
it's a lot of logistics to make it happen. It kind of has to be built around it.
It's very narrow space of like, hey, it's going to happen only in these conditions and only under this, because there's so many variables that could go wrong when you're free falling and like with parachutes and just, trying to add airsoft. Airsoft in itself is like difficult and problematic. Yeah. It's like throw skydiving into it, but I think it would make for a great video. So I'm going to try.
Cool.
Yeah.
That would be fucking dope.
You have to get the permits, clear the airspace and all that nonsense.
What other question you got here?
Question from the Twitch chat. What was your worst helmet buy? What was your best buy for helmets? Everyone here has helmets, so.
I mean, I bought a Team Wendy Xfil LTP and haven't looked back. Yeah. My worst helmet buy was a replica Ops Core that didn't fit me because they don't come in XL.
Hell yeah.
I would say best / kind of worst. No, best buy. I just bought a real Ops Core LBH. I have 2 of them, but honestly, I don't think that's. I haven't had a worst buy. Like I will still use. Like I have the real ones, and I have the fake ones too, and the fake ones work fine. The only difference is like
if they fit you.
They fit the Ops Core like fit is better. The padding, like any repro helmet I kind of buy, I'm like, okay, this is a base. I'm not usually just like, boom, perfect. It's like, okay, I'll replace the padding, I'll replace the night vision shroud, so it's like a real one, and you get into whole different things with NVGs and counterweights. The real helmet, like my real Ops Core, I can run my 15s without a counterweight, and it's not bad. But if it was the repro one, it's like,
a
like
fucking mess.
Helmet,
oh yeah.
Yeah. But like I wouldn't say it was a worst buy. Like I have a lot of TMC ones, but
but you have to upgrade them.
I don't actually have any fake helmets. I've got like an ACH, which I would say is the worst because they're not great, but I mean still it's an ACH, it's fine. I've got a
imagine covering your ears.
Hey man, I needed an extra one, but I do have an Xfil ballistic, which is just the shit. Team Wendy makes the best helmets. Don't even have me. They're fucking awesome.
I'm just joking.
Wendy for life.
Inside joke between me and my friends that they're doing a Marine Force Recon impression.
The PASCAT fucking really covers your ears.
They're all trying to get me to do the regular ACH, and I'm always like, no. Like I would run because like current reference picks have 10 Ops Cores. Like there's the regular Ops Cores helmet, and so I'm always like, imagine covering your ears. Like this post made by the Ops Core gang. Like just joking, but no, they're cool helmets.
Any other good questions? Favorite camouflage and why is it Desert Tiger Stripe? That is the correct answer.
Listen, if you don't,
we all know what Alfonse's favorite camo is. The guacamole.
Alphonse, when are we getting a Desert Tiger Stripe kit out of you?
Honestly, I was just thinking about that the other day, and I had a acquaintance of mine on social media asked me about that and was like, "Yeah, I have this pair," and I thought to myself, I was like, "Can I get a Desert Tiger Stripe plate carrier?"
I have one that's coming right now. I have a MOS Tactical Spav W done in Desert Tiger Stripe that's on the way.
Okay. Yeah, my whole thing is like I try to do like a whole like I take it to the extreme with like
bottom.
Peltors are AOR too, like but I definitely would like my strategy is at some point, being that I have the privilege of playing airsoft kind of for a job right now, I want to expand my loadout horizons to as much as possible, because that's what I would do if I was watching someone who gets paid to play airsoft make lots of different loadouts because
that's like fun, interesting, and cool.
Like wow, how as opposed to wearing the same camo every single time you ever play airsoft. Dutch the hooligan. Whoops.
He really likes the multicam and that tac, doesn't he?
I give him a hard time about it, but no, he has a couple videos without it. He would say, but
he would say.
It's been a minute, but.
Any other good questions, or should we wrap this up at the 2-hour 20-minute mark almost?
It's going, man.
I don't know. I don't see any.
Somebody
said, how good are Taginn products?
Oh, Taginn grenades.
They're just becoming available in Canada, so they want to know.
I mean, they're the best 40 millimeter we have. So if you want to get into 40 millimeter, they're the best.
It's literally, I mean, other than, using my EGs, which I love, EG doesn't make any kind of 40 millimeter round. So Taggins, I think, are the best 40 millimeter like pyro that you can get.
I'm just
As someone that
to
always
come to the U.S. Strike Art's gonna be
well, that's never gonna happen. So stop bringing it up, Ian.
I want it so badly.
Never happening.
Well, what were you gonna say, Alfonse?
I was gonna say, as someone who only used Enola Gay for a long time and just recently started using Taginn grenades, holy shit, they are pretty awesome.
Well, I like the Taginn hand grenades better because they got more weight to them than the EGs, though.
The only downside for the EGs, because I technically still the EGs have tags beat on cost. It's just I've had so many bad experiences with them like breaking or like my fat ass like laying down prone with the LMG, and then all of a sudden my grenades are exploded and they don't like they just don't work. But I used the new yellow case tag rounds a couple weeks ago at the hospital I played at, and there were dudes like literally just the concussive force, especially like in an elevator shaft or like a stairwell that's all concrete. Whew, they are.
I think short of blank fire, Taginn 40 millimeter is the most intimidating ranged weapon in airsoft.
Oh yeah.
They're more expensive, but if you're on the fence about buying them, as long as you don't like get the rounds wet, like I even took my tag rounds in the lake. I tried to shoot my tag rounds like fully submerged, and this is another video I'm gonna do at some point of like, do airsoft guns work underwater, where I like do this extreme form of every testing of everything, and like they don't work if you get them wet. The primer powder will not ignite.
Rip.
I tried. I wasted $40 in grenades.
I mean, but I think that would go to most airsoft grenades that are all using primers like that.
Well, you'll make that money back in the video, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, now that I'm thinking, I did take my Taggins to one of the not Taggins, the EGs to a DFE game, and they got basically like 100% soaked. Like the paper mache like casing was just totally done and
sopping wet.
Yeah, disgusting. But we pulled the pin and threw it, and it still went off. So
sounds like you have
maybe
the most magical EGs ever created.
I think those are the best part of the EGs is they always freaking work. But yeah, they do like. You sit a wrong way. If they're in like a pouch on the back, they're done. It's gone. Like forget it. You just wasted like whatever $10 right there.
Yeah. Well, they're cheaper, so like there's pros and cons to everything. Yeah. And I was talking the tag, the 203 shell rounds, not the grenades.
Yeah, like the Reapers.
Yeah, I took the Archangel rounds and I put them in the grenade launcher in water, and there's just not a good seal like where they put the tip of the round and like the styrofoam or plastic backing. It's definitely can confirm not fully waterproof.
Yeah. Well, some of them have like holes and imperfections and things. Yeah. The molding is not the best all the time, but if you're playing in a regular game where it's not going to be, underwater,
AKA not good. Swimming in a lake with your grenade launchers. You should be fine. But I'll come back to you with conclusive evidence.
Sweet amphibious ops.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So 2 more questions. Scott Rowan asked, "You guys come to Zulu 24 ever?" Yes, we do. We did a hee-haw there, and it was excellent.
Yeah, no, we do go to Zulu every now and then. I really like Zulu. It's a very good field, very fun to play at. It's just like 4.5 hours for me, so I don't get down there that much.
And then another question: Airsoft Innovations Bang 22s are available for pre-order. $100 for a blank fire grenade. Our thoughts?
The whole reason I wouldn't buy an Airsoft Innovations Bang 22 is because it's $100 for a hand grenade.
Yeah, and you're gonna lose it.
You have to go get it. And I do not trust myself or anyone else to return that grenade to me.
I feel like Dutch the Hooligan would disagree with you on this because he loves his blank fire grenades. For CQB, they are cool.
Okay,
but I would say
indoor CQB, I definitely see the application, but I don't play a lot of indoor CQB.
Correct.
So I'm like,
Eric, what happened at the last indoor CQB game you played?
Let's not talk about Western New York indoor fields. I'm going to say a lot of unkind things.
I would say
Vietnam flashbacks coming in.
No, like a lot of the British guys that I know, obviously things are different over there, and I think tags are almost going to be banned, according to one of my friends.
Oh damn.
Yeah, they're like making them I don't know the exact terminology to British firearm laws, but they're
like
making
a destructive device.
Something along those lines, but in the United Kingdom's version. But they use the blank fire grenades a lot, and if you have I can't remember what caliber primer shell, they're pretty loud. Yeah, they're pretty loud. So it's cool. I would say cool for CQB, not the most practical for outdoors. But if you ask Dutch the Hooligan, he will still say that they're great.
If he makes them work, that's wonderful. I just don't want to risk.
I would rather use the real ones, especially for $100. You could get a shit ton of grenades for $100 and just throw them with no second thoughts of like, oh, I gotta go get that. Like just throw them off a building.
67 grenade is like $80.
Oh hell yeah, dog! The best for airsoft.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You want to know how I lost these 2 legs, man?
Airsofter brings real grenade.
The trick to make airsoft cheaters finally call their grenade.
Called it definitely.
It's like a grenade, like flapping the pin out, and it's like this. This secret.
Oh fuck!
It's bad.
All right, should we wrap this up then?
Yeah, it's all 2 hours and 25
I think we've
minutes.
hit all the questions that we really needed to.
Oh,
and,
we did in the first 45 minutes, and we've just been.
And we think we had a really long, really good discussion. I saw one comment. Someone said, "I loved this. It was more Alfonse than we get in all his videos combined."
No, I feel terrible. I want to make more videos. I'm just shy and afraid. But I guess I'll grab my balls and I'll be a man and I'll do it. Okay. No, I honestly
strap that beard on. Be a man. Come on.
No, I definitely want to make more content because like regardless, I think I'm just maybe YouTube's changed me in a bit where I'm a bit more hesitant now. I got caught up in the evil world of caring about every video has to be a viral video, and I kind of am just like, it's not gonna be a viral video like airsoft teching. But I personally, if you would have asked me this like before I knew all that, I'd be like, duh, I'll make these videos like so. But I'm gonna kind of I gotta just let go of that and just be like, hey.
Just make what you want to make and see what happens.
That's kind of where I'm at. So
dope.
All right.
Well, that was fucking fun. Ian, I'll let you do the outro. This is like you really run these podcasts, so
yeah.
Hey man, you guys did the talking, but Gun Gamers Podcast episode 9. It was it's been real cool, guys. So take it easy.
Peace.
Godspeed.
Peace.
General Kenobi.